It's also a special episode of the War of the Podcast. What war, did you ask?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you.
Sit down.
Step by step, the clock is ticking, but there's no time for me.
Stick the feet up.
We will fly above the
And enjoy.
stars tonight. Yeah, we are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah, we are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to a very special World of Football podcast live on the Dugout Football channel. As you can see, one of our regulars is missing tonight, but obviously Cardiff are playing Huddersfield Town. So Nathan, hope they win. And yeah, he has said we might be getting a raid. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But first of all, let me introduce the guest, my co-host Josh, who has not stopped going on about last night. First of all, well done. You deserved your win. Now can we move on?
Wait, I have not even mentioned this since we came in here. I called hypocrisy on this. I called discrimination on this. But I'm very well. Thank you. Obviously, we're here for a special episode. Everything's prepared. Everything's ready. And yeah, I've got nothing else to say.
We've also got George Kyle back with us. How you doing, George?
Yep, very, very good, Doug. Excited to be part of this special and looking forward to delving into the keepers and so forth. So yeah, thank you very much for having me and looking forward to the show.
Absolute pleasure. Mr. Reece Russell, how are you doing, Reece?
Welcome to my show. I'm top notch, mate. How you doing? And Josh, I call bullshit. I bet you have been teasing him all day. Good on you, son.
I haven't actually, no.
I'm disappointed then.
I'll bring up DMs live on show if I have to.
And also joining us yet again is Dan from Football Is, and that is what I want. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm all right, mate. Josh, you know it's a bounce, mate, don't you? You know you're experiencing a bounce. Just enjoy it whilst it lasts.
We're lucky we're here for a different reason than football, Dan. Otherwise, we'd have a very long conversation.
Not really.
Yeah.
We'll be gone in 12 months.
Yeah, so basically what is going to happen is we're going to do a tier list of Premier League goalkeepers from the 2020-21 Premier League season. Now, this is going to be a tier list, so everyone can join in. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through 40 goalkeepers. Yes, 40 goalkeepers. And then basically we've got 5 categories in there. And basically we're going to decide where each goalkeeper goes.
And as always, have a wee edit to kind of introduce everyone to what is to come. So, can I go ahead and play?
Is there a wee edit, is there? I never noticed that, sorry.
I've only made one, so it's the only one it's the only other one I got.
It's the only edit we've got. Alright, here we go.
So, we're talking about some goalkeepers and tier lists. This should be good. Which category do you want to do? Looks good. Ooh, there's one more. Alright, so what goalkeepers do we need to talk about? Signing off the summer for us. Amazing goalkeeper. Jesus. It's custard hands. I don't want to talk about them again. Get involved in the chat, let us know where you think each goalkeeper should go. Hope everyone enjoys the special episode, and this is only part 1 of us.
Yeah, okay, we won't agree about Kepa for elite. So moving swiftly on. So as you can see, there are a lot of goalkeepers there. So starting things off, is that Fabianski? I see.
Yep, Fabianski of West Ham, the first choice goalkeeper.
Yes, West Ham, Fabianski. Josh, where's Fabianski going? Best in the league, very good, average, poor, or Roberto?
I'm going to go very good. I think he's 33 years old. I think for 33 years old, he's a really, really good goalkeeper. Incredible shot stopper. Not particularly great from playing from the back, but you don't have to do that in a David Moyes team. He's a really good shot stopper, really hard to get past him, rarely makes a mistake. West Ham missed him massively last year whenever he was injured. So for me, very good.
Okay, George.
I would probably put him in the just a good category. I think he is a good keeper. But I wouldn't if we look at all of the keepers, that we're going to put in there, all the Premier League goalkeepers as a whole, and sort of use them all within the scale. I think he would only sort of make the good category for me. So that's where I'd place him.
Interesting. Okay, Dan, what are your thoughts?
I'd put him in there. I think I'm good. I think I agree with George. I don't think he's really lit up the Premier League. He's been here a few years. You've got to remember Arsenal. He didn't really do much there. He did right at Swansea. I'd put him good. I think he's decent for West Ham. I think I'd be happy. I agree with that. Good enough for me.
Reece?
To be fair, I'm fairly on the same agreement as the lads. I think you have to mention what he done at Arsenal, but he did improve at Swansea and considerably improved. He turned Swansea around, even though they got relegated not too long ago. And also, he's been at West Ham, and he's been consistent at West Ham, but he lacks certain things to make him a top goalkeeper. So I wouldn't say very good. I would say good, but still somebody I would have as a backup. In all fairness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think the thing with West Ham is being based on their defence and their defensive midfield as well. So I would agree. We haven't really seen him tested as much. So yeah, I would agree with good. I think the majority of the chat is Shane O'Donnell says good, Kane Dolan says very good, and Seamus Moore says good. So I think all the majority have gone for good. So who is the next one, Josh?
Next goalkeeper, my computer won't let me drag him along, but next goalkeeper is number second choice at West Ham, Darren Randolph, the Republic of Irishman, who joined in the summer from Middlesbrough. He's the second choice keeper at West Ham. He's only made, I think, 4 appearances altogether for the team. So, Doug, where would you put him?
I think average. It's got to be average, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm thinking average. He was good at Middlesbrough. But I think me and Reece will remember him. He actually played for Motherwell as well, and he was very good at Motherwell. So I would definitely say average for this one.
George?
I'd have to agree with the lads. I think average would be a good place for him. Obviously, not on the level of Fabianski, but definitely not a poor keeper. He's definitely someone that is quite an able deputy when called upon. So I'd say average.
Dan?
Yeah, definitely average. Excuse me. Wherever he's played, I've never really seen him make glaring errors. I think he's just at that stage of his career where he's now a number 2, and that's what he's going to be. I think he's happy. I don't think he's exactly annoyed that he's not playing week in, week out for the West Ham. So yeah, average.
Reece?
Yep, he just does a job. He's not really disinterested about usurping Fabianski because he knows it's not going to work. He's not the level to step up to do it, and he's well into his 30s, nearly his 40s. So as far as I'm concerned, he's at the stage where he can just do a job if called upon. So yes, average.
I would definitely agree with everyone. I think at international level, he's very good for Republic of Ireland. He's saved that backside countless times at international level. But club-wise, he's never really been called into any big saves. He's rarely well tested. So yeah, I'd agree with average. Next one, Doug.
Who is the next one? Can you put the screen up a little bit closer? Sorry,
Aye.
if you can.
Oh, I just sent in the wrong one. That's my StreamYard. That's the wrong window. There you go. It's John Ruddy.
It's John Ruddy. Josh, what are you saying for John Ruddy?
I'm actually going to put John Ruddy in good. Judging his overall career, I think he was incredible in the year Wolves got promoted in the Championship. He kept great clean sheets in the cups. When he's played in the cups, he's made some really, really good saves. I think in a general career, he's actually had a really good year. So overall, in his whole career, I'm going to go with good. But judging up, since he's been a number 2 under Rui Patricio, I'll probably go with average. Judging this time. Okay,
George.
I'm sort of kind of agree with Josh really, and just put him in the average category, just because obviously with regards to this, it was supposed to be obviously the 2020 and 2021 season, and so yeah, I think at this sort of stage in his career, again, I think just average really. Definitely nowhere not going to push a goalkeeper of Rui Patricio's level. So yeah, average.
No, I actually agree with you definitely. Dan.
Yeah, I think you put him average. I don't think he's anything better than that. Excuse me. I think you got to remember the guy got smashed from the halfway line by Suarez. So
yeah,
kind of feel like that's his peak. I think average. He did a decent job for Norwich, didn't he? And on the cusp of an England shout when we didn't really have many good keepers. So yeah, I think he'd be all right.
Reece?
I have to completely disagree with all of you. I think average is being too generous. I think he was extremely poor. I don't actually think he was a good goalkeeper, period. I think it says all, really. For me, he's poor.
Wow. That's very interesting. I mean, he's a funny one because, as Dan said, he was ripped to shreds by Luis Suarez. I mean, I think Suarez scored 3 hat-tricks past him, but yeah, he hasn't really played much this season. But as George says, he's not gonna change Rui Patricio in the goal. So I'm inclined to agree with the lads. I'm going to go for average.
Next goalkeeper is Wolves. First choice, Rui Patricio, who joined Wolves when they got promoted into the Premier League on a free transfer from Sporting Lisbon. Doug, what do you think?
Rui Patricio has been a fantastic signing for Wolves. For me, I would put him in the good category. I think he's been very, very good this season. He's not had the best of seasons this season because of obviously Wolves' struggles, but he's a top goalkeeper. So I'd definitely say good.
George?
I would put Rui Patricio in the very good category. I am slightly biased on Rui Patricio because he was the goalkeeper. Obviously, kind of sort of putting more of his overall career into play here, which I really shouldn't be doing. But he was obviously the goalkeeper when Portugal won the Euros in 2016, and he was absolutely, phenomenal and fantastic, and a key part of that, in terms of lots of, integral saves, really good command, that sort of thing. And he sort of demonstrated that throughout his career, and obviously through this season as well. Perhaps not, as Doug sort of outlined, perhaps not his best season in between the sticks rather. But like I said, I'm slightly biased with Patricio, and I'd put him in very good.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a tough one. I think on paper I'd say good, but then as George just said, I think he was incredible in the European Championships, and I kind of think the only reason he's struggling this season is because Wolves aren't at their best. I think consistent, he's decent, gives you 7 out of 10 each game. I'd put him in the good. Put him in good, I would.
And Reece?
I have to agree with George, to be honest. I think if you look at Patricio, he's only had one bad season since he's joined English football, but he's been extremely consistent. He's kept Wolves in certain games when, frankly, they should have lost. That's what you want from a goalkeeper. He wins you points. So as far as I'm concerned, very good.
I'm gonna agree with George and Reece. I'm gonna go with very good. I think Rui Patricio has always been reliable. He never really makes any really big errors, and he turns up when you need him to. And he's saved Wolves a lot of crucial points, and there was a reason why they got into the Europa League spots when they did. So by democracy, he goes into very good. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. The next one is David Button. If I'm being honest, we haven't seen him. I think the only time we've really seen him has been the FA Cup, and West Brom really struggled in the FA Cup. So for me, I'd have to say poor.
He was the Brighton backup last year. He moved to West Brom. It's a really tough one, to be fair. I'm going to go with probably Roberto level. If you can't stay at Brighton, and be the number 2, and then you have to go to West Brom and be the number 2. And they signed Andy Longran. That shows how bad the goalkeeper is. So for me, he goes in the Roberto level.
Roberto. Okay, George.
I would say, we'll just play. For me, he's sort of, in that poor category. Obviously, you guys have sort of gone through it, in greater detail. But he's never really sort of made the step up, and he certainly isn't going to. He's got passed from pillar to post. So he's probably going to continue to be, relatively speaking, a journeyman. So I'd probably put him poor, only because we're sort of saving the Roberto one for a special person. So
I think I know.
Dan?
Yeah, I echo what George said there completely. I think I watched him play on loan at Shrewsbury Town, my hometown club. He was decent then, but he's just a young talent that never really hit the potential. He's just always going to be a number 2 unless he goes and drops the divisions, which by the sounds of it, I don't think he wants to do. So I stick with poor.
Reece?
I'm in the inclination of Josh here. I'm going to say Roberto. Simple as that.
Well, unfortunately, Reece, by points, he goes into the 4. No Roberto level as of yet. Next goalkeeper is Sam Johnstone, who has been with West Brom for I think the past 2 years. He did come from Man United, Reece, if I'm correct. This I think he's a very young goalkeeper as well. I think he's had a very, very good season. I'm going to go controversially. I'm actually going to go with very good, because he's the reason why West Brom have not conceded 30 more goals than they already have this season. I think against Manchester United, he pulled off some really, really good saves.
Everyone does.
Yeah,
So-
it's
Yeah.
if you're getting peppered with shots, then you're going to save some, aren't you?
I just think he sees more really, really good shots than some other keepers, and I think he's part of the reason why West Brom have been keeping like 30 more goals than they already have. Doug?
I wouldn't say he's very good. I would say he's good. For me, he's been West Brom's player of the season, but I don't think he's that top goalkeeper yet. But what you can say, he's been he's been really good this season for West Brom. But I do think that he is in the good category.
Go ahead, George.
I would say I'd sort of agree with Doug and place him in the good category. When I sort of look already at the list on there, I think he is a level or so below Rui Patricio, who we've already placed him very good. So I definitely say good. You are right, obviously, Josh, in terms of had a very good match, particularly against Manchester United. But as Reece and I will both attest to, almost every goalkeeper turns into prime David De Gea or prime Manuel Neuer when they play against Manchester United. But yeah, very good keeper. Obviously, he's always going to get peppered with shots, playing for West Brom. But a very good, good keeper, and I'd say in the good category for me.
Dan?
I think he's average. I don't think him anywhere near good or very good. I think, the question I'll ask is, do you think he should be in the England squad?
No.
But then I don't
No.
see him be. I think he's average. I nearly fell off my chair when when Josh said very good. I just like happens with a lot of goalkeepers down the bottom of the end of the table. You get peppered with shots week in, week out. You're gonna make some good saves. I think he's average.
And Reece?
He's not particularly good and he's not particularly shit. So I would have to agree with Dan. I would say average. Like he had a great game against Man United, but what else has he done? Like he's beat. The only reason he's player of the season for West Brom is because West Brom are exceptionally shit as a team. So by that logic, he goes into average.
So we have a deadlock chat. So it's up to you. So whenever we can agree on where the person goes, chat spam where you think Sam Johnstone should go. And wherever you guys say he will go. So I'll do it for you guys to catch up. Doug, do you want to introduce the next goalkeeper?
It is Joe Hart. Josh.
Joe Hart. It's actually so sad how Pep Guardiola ruined this man's career. Like, literally just got at a ball and just crunched him up. But I would probably actually put him in poor. I don't think he played in, I think it was it was either the FA Cup or the Europa League quite recently, and he made some really bad mistakes, like some really bad mistakes. When he played he couldn't even keep the Burnley first team spot. His career's run downhill. I think he's a poor goalkeeper now.
George.
I'm going to say Roberto level. To be honest with you, Joe Hart is one of those players that, as you already alluded to, Josh, in terms of like how Pep Guardiola treated him, but he's definitely a keeper, a bit almost who fell off a cliff. Normally with a lot of players, there's almost a steady decline. But with Joe Hart, it was very rapid descent from ultimately when he was first choice at Man City. And I think overall he's sort of deteriorated, lots of mistakes and errors. And obviously, again, kind of bringing the sort of national side of it when he played for England, I always thought he was very poor. So yeah, I put him in Roberto.
Throw him down.
Elite, mate.
Sorry.
Put him in elite. And I'll tell you why, because I sat next to him in science and maths at school, so I'm going to back my boy, I'm afraid.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah. No, let's be honest. The comment about Burnley, I don't agree with that, Josh. At the end of the day, he was having to get in ahead of Pope and Heaton, who are two really, really good keepers. He's on the end of his career. He's in the decline. He's got one final payday at Spurs, which, can anyone really begrudge him for doing? God. Do you know what? I'm going to decline to answer because if he sees this, he'll never speak to me again.
Well, he has had 2 free kicks scored past him by Lee Griffiths to remember him by. So yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Doug. I lost you there, mate. I lost you.
Reece.
For me, he went from being one of the top goalkeepers in the Premier League, considerably it was, to being one of the worst. like he's went downhill so quickly. So as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't say Roberto because I don't think he's of the level of Roberto. I think that's Kepa's level. I'm going to put him in poor.
Can I just say something as well? Can I just say something? You don't win a Premier League being Roberto, I'm afraid. He did have decent ability. It's just one of them things. He wasn't Pep Guardiola's type of goalkeeper. Pep likes his goalkeepers to play with their feet, and I think he's probably the last breed of the old goalkeepers who just likes to kick it out. You know, the new goalkeeper is a sweeper, essentially. So I think that's where he probably suffered.
I also remember watching him at Torino, and he was not particularly good either.
Yeah, he wasn't great at Torino. So I'm inclined to agree. I think Joe Hart is in the poor category.
Next is obviously it's not Paulo Gazzaniga, who's no longer at Spurs, so we're going to skip on to Hugo Lloris. I personally going to go with. I think I'm actually going to go with good. I think Lloris is overrated. I don't think he is as good as some people say. He's very mistake prone. I don't find him particularly trustworthy in between the sticks. I think he's got so much mistakes in him, and especially in big situations. So for me, I think he's a good goalkeeper. Spurs could do better.
I'm inclined to agree. I think he's in the good category. I don't think he's very good. I mean, he has one or two games where he can be very, very good, but seeing like other games, he's got a mistake in him. And I think if Tottenham want to, challenge for major honours, I actually think they could actually look into replacing him. But for the time being, I would put him in good.
George?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you guys. Obviously, and place him in the good category. Obviously, international with France, but certainly, as you sort of mentioned, throughout his career, he's made many catastrophic errors. For example, obviously the World Cup final in 2018 when he made that mistake that could have cost France in the final against Croatia. And there are plenty of other examples over his Premier League career with Lloris. But he is overall he's solid. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed at the top level for as long as he has done. So yeah, overall good, but definitely has a mistake in him, which can be costly.
Dan?
I think I'm inclined to agree with both of them. I think. Do you know what? Goalkeeper's the worst bloody job. It's the second worst job in the world next to the England manager, I think. Once you make a mistake, and a big one, there's always question marks over your ability. He's fantastic with his feet sometimes, but I just kind of feel like, he's always got a mistake in him. So I'll go good. I think I'll go. No, do you know? Yeah, I'm going to go good.
Reece?
His errors per game stats over the past couple of years has risen dramatically. And I like Hugo Lloris, but I don't think he's a very good goalkeeper. Maybe at international level where he doesn't have to play so many games.
Protected, any Reece, I think.
Exactly, like he has that as well. But in the Premier League, you need to be able to be comfortable in certain stages. So that's why he's not going to be one of the all-time best in the league.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For me, I would honestly say borderline good and average. I would literally say borderline, but I'm going to put him in the good category because he's still being reliable for them. I would honestly do that. I would have him as borderline.
I think you're bang on there, Reece, actually. I was almost contemplating saying average, but I think you're right. I think you're completely right. Bloody hell, me and Reece agreeing with something. That doesn't happen very often.
Well, as long as it's about Phil Jones, anyway. Right.
God.
So the next goalkeeper is Fraser Forster. Josh.
I am actually above Fraser Forster in good. I think he did replace Alex McCaffrey there against Everton. I thought he was really, really good at Celtic. I don't think I'll ever forget that League Cup final against Rangers where he just saved every single thing that he just saved everything. I actually don't think Fraser Forster's a bad goalkeeper. I think he's pretty reliable between the sticks. I think he would always say average for a number two, but I also think he is a really decent goalkeeper. I actually put him in good.
George?
I would agree with Josh. I think a good goalkeeper overall. Certainly, as Josh has sort of spoken about. I mean, to be honest, I won't sort of put Reece through it, so I might not speak about it. But he was good at another club, very good at another club. I'll say that. There were a lot of matches where you saw him pulling out incredible goalkeeping performances for that team. So I think overall a good keeper.
Dan?
Yeah, I think good. I think there was a time where perhaps he should have maybe had a few more games in between the sticks for England instead of Hart, actually. It was at a time where he was super consistent. Look, he's at the end of his career as well. And I think when he looks back, he won't look back with too many regrets. I think he's good keeper.
Yeah, Reece?
For me, pains me to say it, but I have to say good. And the reason I'll say it is because Cian Dolan's actually just mentioned it in the chat. That's the exact reason why he's good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So Fraser Forster is going in good.
So Agnes Gunn's on loan at Stoke City, so he's not going to be spoken about either. So next we move on to Alex McCarthy. He did get benched, literally, for the last game for Southampton against Everton. For me, I'm going to put him in average. I think 2 seasons ago when he didn't make the England squad, I thought he was really, really good. I mean, he is a decent goalkeeper, but I just feel like he's too mistake prone. He isn't good with his feet. He's very clumsy. He doesn't control his boxes or come for crosses for the sides of him. I would expect more physicality for him as a goalkeeper. So I'm going to go with average on my personal opinion. Doug?
I'm inclined to put him in between average and poor. I've never really rated him. I do remember when Brendan Rodgers was in charge of Liverpool. I did actually think of him actually going for Alex McCarthy as a backup, and the thought just got to me really, really quickly. I was like, oh no, definitely not. So I am going to say between average and poor.
George?
I am going to go with poor for Alex McCarthy. Never sort of really lit anything up. Never really proved himself as a truly good goalkeeper for me, or sort of in that average category. So I'm going to say straight out poor.
I think I'm going to go average. I think look, take away the 9-0 loss. There's not a lot the guy could have done about that. It wasn't his fault. They were down to 10 men straight away, and then they go down to 9 men near the end. I think he's done all right. He's not tore up any places he's gone to, but I think he's average. Like Josh said, was it Josh who said he was nearly fit for England? He
was in the England squad twice when he was really in good form.
I think average. I think average. I'd be happy with going average.
Reece?
I think borderline average and poor is his level. I don't think he's particularly crap, and I don't think he's particularly... Yeah, pretty much. I generally don't think he's going to be a top 10 goalkeeper. I think he should even play. I don't think he should be playing for Southampton as their starting goalkeeper. I think he's more of a deputy goalkeeper than a starter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think borderline average poor is fair enough to judge him on.
So are we putting him poor then? Is that agreed?
The majority of the chat are saying average.
I would say borderline, but that's just my view on it.
Unfortunately, we're not able to do that, but we'll put him in average then. So we'll move on to
the majority wins.
I can't. Even though we've got rid of him, I can't wait to get to Ramsdale.
Oh mate, Reece, I am so with you on that one, mate.
There's only one level, and I want to start the Ramsdale chat when we get to Ramsdale. I want to be first. But anyway, moving on.
Right, go ahead, Doug. And Doug is frozen. Okay, so I will continue on. Our next goalkeeper is Wesley Form. He was the Rangers backup to Alan McGregor last season. He moved to Sheffield United. He hasn't made a single appearance this season. So he hasn't played in the Cups or the League Cup. So yeah, I'm going to put him in poor because... Actually, no, I'll put him in poor simply because he hasn't played in English. But I thought when he played last year for Rangers, he did a decent job, but he was never an Alan McGregor. But I think he was an all right goalkeeper. George?
I'd have to sort of agree. I think just anywhere sort of in between that average to poor thing, average to poor category for him. So yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not really seeing enough of him to play, so I kind of feel like it'd be a bit harsh for me to say anything really. I'll probably just go with what George said there because, as I say, I'd be lying if I said I knew much about the kid, I'm afraid.
Well, Regina Warbanks, he did play a fair few games last year. Colin McGregor had a bit of an injury. It's hard to judge him because he hasn't played at the top level, but he did a decent job at Rangers. So give a verdict on what you've seen on him.
I think in fairness, and this is because obviously Rangers are my Scottish team. I think in fairness, he was quite decent at Rangers, but obviously you have to bear in mind the defence in front of him weren't particularly good either, so he was having to do a lot more, and at times that was an issue. But you're right, he's not particularly played in English football, so it's not exactly fair to give him a fair ranking. I think based on what I have seen, I would put him borderline average poor. I think borderline is relatively fair for Fotheringham's level.
Okay, so we'll put him in poor simply because we haven't seen him. I should have had we haven't seen enough to think about. I don't think about that.
Yeah, I think it's a shame he's not had. I think it's a shame that he's not actually played any games this season because he would do better than Ramsdale.
I think one thing we should say is that obviously Chris Wilder has not seen enough of him on the pitch, on the training. I've seen enough bad things on the pitch, not the playing even in the FA Cup. Next goalkeeper is Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron Ramsdale joined from Bournemouth in the summer for quite a bit of money. He's obviously the Dean Henderson replacement. Oh, Reece, go ahead. I'll start with you.
100% Roberto level. He is an utter shite goalkeeper. As far as I'm concerned, there's no other need to argue, boys. You go straight into Roberto.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Hang on, let me just check. Is there a full moon tonight? I'm actually agreeing with Reece twice in a row. He's awful. I don't understand it. I feel like, I mean, look, Sheffield United were always going to struggle when they lost Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson's quality, but he's awful. He's awful.
George.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the lads. I think we'll for me placing in the Roberto level. Very very poor. Obviously Sheffield United. A shadow of the team they were last season, and a major loss obviously for them was Dean Henderson, who of course we'll get onto at some point, I've no doubt. But yeah, I think Ramsdale, shocking keeper. So yeah, Roberto level for me.
Just remind everyone that the season before Ramsdale started as the Bournemouth #1, he was in League 2 on loan. So there you go.
Put it this way as well. He's going to be, I think, the first. I don't know if it's the first goalkeeper in the history of the Premier League, but he's the first English goalkeeper to be relegated in consecutive seasons for different clubs. That is Roberto level reason. Yeah,
I have to agree. Sorry everyone, my phone decided to basically reset itself. But I see that you put Wes Fotheringham and poor. To be honest, I would have put Wes Fotheringham and Roberto. He is a shocking goalkeeper. Ramsdale is the reason that Sheffield United are bottom, I'm afraid to say.
Doug, have you been stewing on that whilst you're waiting for your phone to restart, mate?
So the next one, who's the next one, Josh?
Carl Darlow.
Carl Darlow. I actually think Carl Darlow is actually a decent goalkeeper. I would put him in good because I think he has actually saved Newcastle quite a few times this season. So for me, I would put him in good.
Okay, I would personally put him in average. I think Cardano is a good goalkeeper, as you say, but he got benched for Martin Dubravka there at the weekend for a reason. I think at the start of the season he started off really strong, but as each game has gone on, he's got worse as each game has gone on. And in that sense, initially it's a decline from good to average. So I'll put him in average.
George?
I'm going to agree with you, Doug. I think Carl Darlow for good. I think he is a good, very good shot stopper. I know that he's made a lot of saves as well this season, comparatively to most other keepers in the league. So he is very busy as a goalkeeper. And I think he's done a good job for Newcastle. So I'd say good for Carl Darlow.
Dan?
Yeah, between average and good for me, because it just goes back to what I said before. When you're down the bottom end of the table, you're getting shots peppered at you on average, 10, 15 times a game. You're going to make some decent saves and look decent. But then at the same time, I have seen glimpses of what he's capable of. I'm torn between average and good for me.
The only other thing, just very quickly before Reece has his turn, the only other thing is that he has saved a Bruno Fernandes penalty, which I think he's the only person in the Premier League that's done that as well to maybe push him up to good. So,
I agree. Yeah, good point.
Reece?
I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna go on record now. I think all the Newcastle goalkeepers on this are completely average. All of them. I don't think any of the Newcastle goalkeepers are actually good enough to keep them in the Premier League or even make them get even in the top half of the table if they manage to stay up and try to progress in the next couple of years. I think that's a very weak position for Newcastle. None of them are good with their feet. None of them are particularly good at actually holding their break at all from the goals. None of them can command their box. I agree. You should take a break.
I'll rest when I'm dead. You haven't seen the belly.
I just don't think any of the Newcastle goalkeepers are actually particularly good at all. I think average is fitting for all of them.
Okay, let's see. Interesting. All right, let's see. Shane O'Donnell says very good. Jamie Grant says good. Average. Kane says good. Average. I think the majority are saying average, to be honest with you. So, yeah, we put him in average.
Average and great. Next one is Martin Dubravka, who joined Newcastle 3 years ago. Officially joined them on a permanent deal 2 years ago. I think Martin Dubravka is in the good category. I think he. I think Reece is shaking his head there. Well, I just have to say, Ramsdale very good. And also down there, Dan does not have to keep on shoot. We do not make Dan do this, by the way, people. Just the advice. We do not make Dan do this. Just on the record now. But I think Martin Dubravka is actually a good goalkeeper. I think he joined Newcastle. He rarely makes a mistake. I think he's very, very bad at playing from the back. But when you're playing with Steve Bruce, when do you ever play it from the back? So I think he's a good goalkeeper. I think he's a really good shot stopper. I think his general position is quite good. He has made quite a few bad mistakes, but I don't see a reason why he's average. And the only reason why he hasn't played this season is because of a serious injury. So I'm going to go with good. Doug?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think he's been a big miss for Newcastle this season. I think last season he was such a great player for Newcastle, and I think they have missed him this season. To be fair, Darlow has been good this season, so I would definitely say that Dubravka is in good.
George?
I'm going to say that for Dubravka, I'm going to put him in average. But for me, Darlow and Dubravka, much of a muchness really, in terms of not as good as they need to be. So I'm going to say Dubravka in average.
I think look at it this way, right? The great goalkeepers, the elite goalkeepers, you talk about because they're great, they're elite. The bad keepers, the Roberto keepers, you talk about because they're bad keepers, they're Roberto keepers. The decent keepers, the ones that just do everything. I'm Danielle. I'm just talking about a keeper. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I'm live on this. Just hang on. I think he's all right. I think he's decent.
Go ahead, Rich.
I genuinely think the Newcastle goalkeepers, they all belong in the same
guys.
category.
My wife has just said I shouldn't be able to talk and do this. I'm an athlete, aren't I?
Yeah, you are an athlete. Yeah,
I'm coming down now.
Sorry, guys. I genuinely believe the Newcastle goalkeepers are all average. I don't think any of them are particularly good at all. He might have a stop in him and he can save and all that, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not good enough to take Newcastle forward if they want to progress eventually. I think average is his level. It's the same as Darlow. Several other keepers are about to come up. They're particularly average, and they will not get any better. I don't see Dubravka getting any better than what he is. I think average is, in my opinion, rather generous.
Okay, so judging by the chat, it looks like just by a very slim margin that Dubravka will go into the good section by a very small majority. So Martin Dubravka will go into good. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Yeah. So it's like Lance Armstrong and more finesse. I like that. So the.
Andy's not cheating with any doping shit.
Yeah.
Good point.
How do you know?
Now the next.
I'm just taking a guess.
So the next one, I think everyone is going to get in here, and it is Dean Henderson. Josh.
Well, obviously, I think Dean Henderson made an absolute clutch save to save from embarrassment against Crystal Palace in the 89th minute. He will, I think, Reece could correct me if my amount of games wrong, but he will start the next 6 games roughly for United due to De Gea being De Gea going to Spain. This could mean De Gea could be permanently benched if Henderson plays well, because it's all sharp benches Henderson in good form. I think that's terrible man management, but anyway. For me, I think Dean Henderson is a good goalkeeper. I'm not going to put him in very good because I don't know how he can handle the top pressure of being at Manchester United. I think his time will come to be at that stage. But judging his time off Sheffield United, what he's done in the Europa League, the League Cup, the FA Cup, when he's played in 3 league appearances he's played so far, I think he's good. I would put him in slightly good, but I still want to wait until he plays regularly and has the pressure that David De Gea has had. Doug?
I totally disagree with you. I think Dean Henderson is a very good goalkeeper. I'm sorry. I've said that. I think Dean Henderson is very, very good. I think also I think he is capable of being number 1 at Manchester United. I think there's going to have to be a decision made with David De Gea. I think Dean Henderson is a very good goalkeeper. And I think he was very good at Sheffield United too. So I'm saying very good.
A Liverpool fan speaking facts, ladies and gentlemen. You very rarely hear that.
George?
I am also going to agree with Doug. Henderson is a very good keeper. No two ways about it. Was outstanding for Sheffield United. You are right, Josh. I suppose in the point that we don't necessarily know that definitely he's going to succeed at a big club. Where the expectations are much higher, and obviously for Manchester United, you're more scrutinised than any other team in the Premier League when you play in goal, as David De Gea has found out. Really, especially this season.
Just to say, that is the only reason I'm not putting him in very good. Every other reason I put him in very good, except for that 1 week thing. So But
at the same time, what I'd say on that is that I think you also agreed with us about Rui Patricio being very good, didn't you? I can't remember if you did or not. And obviously, Wolves are not necessarily a very good team, or sorry, not a top team in the same way. So, just on the basis of as a goalkeeper, there's no way you can't put Henderson in very good. Doug's also right. Obviously, there's an interesting debate about even between United fans as to who they prefer out of Henderson and De Gea. Henderson, every time I've seen him, obviously, having watched obviously every Manchester United match this season, and he hasn't played too often, but obviously I've seen all the matches that he has played, and he's always been he's obviously quite vocal compared to De Gea, so quite commanding. He also seems to have quite a good grasp of his penalty area, so he's quite good in terms of positional sense. He's always good. He's good at catching crosses, those sort of things that maybe De Gea's, might be seen as some of his weaknesses recently. Henderson for me also a good shot stopper as well. So there was an amazing save against Sheffield United, obviously back in December, I think it was, that kept it at 3-2 when they could have equalised. So formidable shot stopper, good command of his box, very good at communication, all sorts of different traits. So that's why I said very good for Henderson.
Dan?
Woo. Oh, sorry, I've just done my target. Oh, that's me done. Do you know what? Look, he's played one season in the Premier League, which is what I'm going to rate him on here. He's a good keeper that could become incredible, absolutely incredible. I love the way that he commands the area. I love his passion. I love his confidence. I think David De Gea's baby being born has come at the best time possible for him. He's going to play some big games against some big teams. Just watch his space, see where he goes. I think he's got the potential. Look, he's got the potential to be very, very, very good. Elite. I'm not saying elite because I put the likes of Casillas, Buffon, people like that. But no, I'm going to go good.
Reece?
For me, I have to say very good. And the reason I'm saying that is he has been consistent. He has been consistent in certain games. I go back to his first appearance of the season. I think in the league, his first appearance of the season was against Sheffield United.
Yeah.
The game wasn't particularly good to start with, but that's like obviously the Sheffield United goal that caught him off guard. But to be fair, you're not really going to blame him for that because he played there for a year in the Premier League. The expectation would have got to him, so I'm not going to particularly blame that. The game where we lost City 2-0, he only particularly conceded due to a moment of brilliance by Fernandinho and a slight defensive error from the corner, so you can't particularly blame him for that as well. But everywhere else, he's commanded his box. He's very aware. He's very aware of positioning for when he has to make a save. He's comfortable. He doesn't get beat his near post, or even if he does, it's very rare. And for his age as well, he's just going to keep getting better and better. And the fact of the matter is, last season he had some questionable errors, but he was still showing effectiveness at Sheffield. He's the reason they didn't get relegated. They finished in the top 8, and he's the reason that Sheffield United are going to get relegated to the Championship. So as far as I'm concerned, very good is probably the best place for him because it's accurate.
Right, next goalkeeper we're going to do now. Technically, it's Romero, but Romero hasn't played this season. He's the fourth choice keeper. He's not even the fourth choice keeper, is it really? He's not even in the squad. So
he's in Argentina still.
So Romero's going to be that. Romero's going to be replaced. So just pretend Romero's face is Lee Grant. Lee Grant, the third choice keeper at Manchester United. Obviously, I'm going to put this guy in Roberto level. Simple as that, though.
Yep, 100%.
George? No?
I'm going to put him in good because I think he was holding up a board. He held up a board really well. I think we saw him holding up the little officials board, and I think he did a good job of that. So he definitely held it very high, and I'm going to put him in good just for that.
I put him in poor, and I put his agent in elite.
I'm gonna agree 50-50 with Dan here. The elite part for the agent, I agree. What an absolute masterstroke! But for me, he's a Roberto. Like, I don't even know why the hell we bothered to bring him in the first place. So as far as I'm concerned, straight to Roberto.
Okay, so Romero, aka Lee Grant, is going to go into Roberto. It's going to go to Roberto. Next one.
Right, the next one is going to be a very interesting one. David De Gea. Now, a couple of seasons ago, you would have said that he was one of the best in the league. Recently,
he was at the time.
Recently, I would say he's probably now between very good and good. Yes. I think it's an in between.
Doug, if you're about to say that and you're about to put bloody Alisson anywhere near elite, mate, you need to stop drinking alcohol on a Friday night. Jesus Christ.
For me personally, I'm going to put De Gea in very good. I do think long term, Dean Henderson should be the number one keeper for Manchester United going forward. I think Henderson will walk very soon if he's not given a chance. So I think personally, David De Gea is very good. If we were talking about 2 seasons ago, he's best in the league without a shadow of a doubt. No issues about that. But he is mistake prone. He's nowhere near as good. I think he's struggling to come for crosses a lot more than he is. Yeah, I don't think he's as vocal as he used to be as well. He is starting to go downhill, but as things stand right now, he still pulls off some big saves when you need him to. For me, very good.
George?
Yeah, De Gea is definitely an interesting one. Obviously watching all the Manchester United games this season, and he has been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is definitely number one. There was a concern about who would be number one, obviously with 2 incredible keepers as Henderson and De Gea are, but Ole's definitely preferred De Gea in terms of appearances. It's whether he's sort of justified that. And obviously the paternity leave, as we've spoken about for De Gea when going off to Spain, it has come at a good time to see Henderson's mettle. But I think overall, if we're just sort of judging him as a goalkeeper, I would still have him as very good. I think this season he has been very good. Again, he's obviously the last couple of seasons prior to this, he was absolutely terrible. Made countless errors. I think there was a statistic that he made the most errors leading to goals, I think, of any goalkeeper a season ago or so. When he was making all sorts of litany of errors. But I think this season he has sharpened up again, and I think he's in that very good category. I think it's more the defence in front of him who Ollie keeps on picking. I mean, I'm not going to get into that because we know what happens with that. But I think it's more the defence in front of him are terrible, and I think De Gea's almost a victim of that sometimes in terms of the amount of goals that he's conceded. And a lot of the time, if we look at save percentages, maybe he's not among the best. But I think that's because with our defence, they tend to let almost certain goals or certain shots on target go towards David De Gea. So I think, and also what I would say is that De Gea has been very good, because obviously if he hadn't been, then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have replaced him with Henderson before. So actually, he has had some very good performances this season, to his credit, and it's almost as though the Henderson thing has woken him up a bit. I think having him as a reserve keeper has made De Gea sharpen up his ideas. And like I said, other than this paternity leave, De Gea hasn't been replaced by Henderson all season. So it shows how well De Gea has played all season. So De Gea, very good for me, based on this season. Obviously, a couple of seasons ago, best in the league, best in the world. Over those last 2 seasons, since the World Cup, obviously when Ronaldo scored a hat-trick against him, he was terrible. But like I said, I think Henderson's sharpened him up, and he's back to very good.
Dan?
I think he's very good. I think the guy has had to. I think the guy deserves a medal for what he put up with at United for so long. Having my mate Phil Jones and Chris Smalling in front of him, and being able to be as good as he was. I think. Look, I'm gonna have to go for a shower, lads, shortly, because I stink. I'm of the opinion I'm going to put him very good. I think he was consistent for so long. Any goalkeeper who has to have Harry Maguire and Lindelof playing in front of them week in, week out, he needs to be on their toes. And very good for me. Very, very good.
Reece?
I'm honestly surprised he's never been referred to a shrink or something for having those two in front of him for so long. Because I would be seriously going mental and being all fucking psychotic thoughts in my head. I generally would say very good, especially in certain games when he's been called upon. George was right. Prior to the World Cup, arguably De Gea 100% in the top 2 goalkeepers of the world, beside Neuer, potentially Oblak as well. So you would say 3. The other ones named after that, questionable. But after that, performances did slip. But even in certain games when needed, he has been reliable. He's pulled off big saves when we really did need them. So, yeah, for me, very good. He's not in the best of the Premier League this season. That's for sure. He is not. But he's not particularly far off it. It's only just it's due to certain factors that have restricted him from being best in the league. One of them is the defence, and 2, a potential loss of confidence. But, 100% I would say very good.
Yep.
So all in agreement, so seems like it.
Yeah, Dan is going to have to go, unfortunately.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for bearing with, and good luck with the rest of the show. And by the way, I've just seen Neil's comment beyond the 90. Maguire, worth every penny, mate. Speak to you later.
Yeah.
So was a steak dinner.
Yeah. Right, take care, mate.
Right, so next goalkeeper is the number 2 Manchester City goalkeeper, Staff, 26 Euro season. I think only American goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. I don't know what to say about him. He hasn't played a ton of games. He's played every League Cup game, every FA Cup game, and he's played once in the league, which was against us, which he wasn't really tested. I think he's I think he's actually an alright goalkeeper. He's a decent shot stopper, but he's nothing special. I'm going to go with average.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say average as well. We've hardly really ever seen him. The only time we've really seen him is the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. So for me, I think Stefan would definitely be average.
George?
I'm going to agree with both of you. I think average goalkeeper. Certainly, obviously, with the amount of money that Manchester City have, you know that you're not going to be a poor or bad keeper any longer. Obviously, the amount of money that Pep Guardiola and City shell out. So, I'd say that average. They've got rid of most of their really poor keepers. So, I said, I'd say average.
Reece?
I would say he is the same. I would say average. I mean, considering the run that he had in the Carabao Cup, he only conceded 1 goal. Up until the final, if he plays the final, we'll find out he only conceded once. but in all fairness, they weren't particularly strong opponents. I will also say that I actually think he's got the potential to be one of the absolute best goalkeepers, though, from what I've seen. The way he commands his box, he's good with his feet, he's a good shot stopper. We've not seen him enough in the league to say you can go past average level. You can only realistically base it on cup games, and I don't think that's good enough to say. So for me, if he can manage to get a good run of games and potentially ahead of Ederson, which is practically going to be near enough impossible for him because they're near enough similar ages, I don't know if he's going to be given the opportunity to do it. I think for now average, but if he was to move to a different team like say Arsenal, or if he was to move like to another club of similar like top level stature, I think he certainly could show what he's capable of. So I'm going to say average, but he's got the potential to be very good, if not better than that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying average, so I think we're all in agreement. Right, next one, Ederson Moraes. I'm going to put it out straight in the bat. One of the best keepers in the league for me. So best in the league, Josh. Oh, he's mute. You're muted.
Yeah, I know. I was muted. That's why I was waiting to speak before I mute myself. I'm going to go with the first one. I'm going to go with best in the league. It's not just for the fact that this man is a really good shot stopper. He could literally assist from his own box with a kick with a kick of a ball.
World record.
Literally, I think it's very rare that you see a goalkeeper who's able to. Well done, Josh. Oh, thank you. Hi, BBL. Sorry, saying well done. Let me go. Anyway, I think he's best in the league. It's very rare that goalkeeper can actually do a Kevin De Bruyne-esque pass from his own box and also make incredible saves. I think for the first goalkeeper, and probably going to be the only goalkeeper in this, best in the league. Doug?
I've said best in the league.
Yeah, I've said it. Fair enough.
George?
Yeah, I'd say best in the league as well. Obviously he's got an incredibly good defence in front of him. He is a good shot stopper, but maybe not sort of like elite class in that way. Overall, I've seen plenty of games where if the Manchester City defence is tested, he can, he could be. This is obviously prior to this season, particularly obviously with the amount of clean sheets they've got and what a revelation Ruben Diaz has been. But I've seen it quite a few times where his positional sense on shots, for example, in the 4-3 where Tottenham beat them, obviously in the Champions League, there was a few times when Son, I think, had a shot and he was miles out of his goal, and he didn't have any positional sense. And there's quite a few occasions where he's been like that as a shot stopper. But I think overall as a goalkeeper, he's sort of like the epitome of that modern keeper in terms of the distribution is just phenomenal. It's almost peerless. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Obviously he got the assist for Gundogan, didn't he, against Spurs? He is just on a totally different level from any other goalkeeper in the Premier League in terms of distribution. And it's when we sort of when we sort of see when I sort of watch Manchester United play, I think one of David De Gea's weaknesses or disadvantages is his distribution. I think in terms of kicking and passing, he'll often just horse out the field. But with Ederson, it's incredibly well controlled. It enables them to play out from the back. He almost becomes sort of the 11th outfield player sometimes, obviously in terms of passing and distribution. And obviously, like I said, the amount of clean sheets that he's kept. Certainly, he's probably going to win the Golden Glove, isn't he? I think he's 15 clean sheets. I think for Manchester City. So, and you can't even with Diaz and Stones, you're still going to face shots, and obviously you're still going to have to keep those clean sheets where necessary. So, yeah, this season particularly best in the league.
Reece?
Sorry.
I'm gonna say something quite contentious here. I think he's the only goalkeeper that should get in the best in the Premier League section. He's the only goalkeeper, in my opinion. I know, Doug, you're a Liverpool fan, mate, and you're a big fan of Alisson, but as far as I'm concerned, I think he's only very good. I don't think he's particularly better than...
Save up for later.
I don't think he's particularly better, but in terms of... Obviously, they're going to be in direct competition soon anyway, which is going to be interesting for international teams. But I think Ederson overall, I think he's playing in the wrong sport. I don't think he should be playing football. I think he should be in like American football or something, because the way he plays, his distribution is perfect for that sport. Just the way he's deceitfully good at certain things, but also the one thing I would say is I think George mentioned like his positioning. I think when he does that, I think in my opinion, I think he just gets bored. He is bored. He doesn't have a lot to do, so he's like, well, all right, I'm just going to go and take the piss. And there are times where he does concede from it, like the McTominay goal, we conceded from it. But you watched it in our last game. In the last game, he made 2 or 3 errors in a row. He just passed it straight to the opposition team, and then he ended up saving each time, like the responses. It just shows like it's either boredom or he's a bit of a mixed goalkeeper. As far as I'm concerned, he is definitely the best in the league. He's not the best in the world, but he's definitely best in the league.
Now, next goalkeeper is the Welshman and number 2 choice at Leicester, Danny Ward. I'm going to go with average. I don't think he's done anything world beaten. I don't think the guy is anything too special. He's decent in international if I want to call upon. When he's playing for Leicester this season, he has made a couple of errors within the Europa League. I don't really see this guy being anything great, so I'm going to go with average on my level. Doug?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I think he is average. I feel for Danny Ward because he did well at Aberdeen, came back to Liverpool, did okay, but he was never going to get in ahead of. Well, at the time it was Simo Mignolet. For me, average.
George?
Average for me. Obviously, Doug sort of mentioned it. He was previously at Liverpool. And I think Liverpool did quite well, actually. I think it was about 12.5 million, I think they got for him. They sold him to Leicester. So, definitely, I think average, particularly given that's quite a high sum transfer fee compared to how much they paid for the next person we're going to talk about. And so I think, overall average, definitely never going to displace the next person.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's a particularly good goalkeeper. I think average is the best way to define him.
All right, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, Kasper Schmeichel, who is having a very good season. That save, I can't remember who it was from against Burnley, but that was some save from Schmeichel. I think he's having a very good season. So for me, I think it's borderline best in the league / very good for me.
I'm going to say something really controversial. I'm actually going to put him in best in the league simply because along with Alisson, he has had a lot of different centre-back partnerships in front of him. And as has been proven test with Alisson, those centre-backs in front of you make a really big difference. Like the communication, the formation, the system, the line, everything is extremely different. He's had, I think, that's the second most different centre-back partnerships. Against Burnley, they had one centre-back in a back three because the other two were defensive midfielders. So for me, I'm actually going to put him best in the league. He's always been consistent. He's made remarkable saves. He's one reason why Leicester are where they are. He's won the league with them. I think he has to be best in the league. Everyone's obviously disagreeing with me in the chat, but that's the way it is.
George?
I quite see where your point is there. I would put him in very good. I'm kind of not necessarily spoiling it, but very similarly sort of to Reece in terms of what I'd class as sort of best in the league and whereabouts different keepers would rank within it. Sorry. I think Kasper Schmeichel is very good. Obviously, a hero who said that he was going to win. There was an interview I think with him that I saw where he went back, I think, to his primary school. And was talking to him, giving a speech to him. This was a few years prior to when they won the Premier League, and he actually said he talked about and said that his dream was to win the Premier League at that point. And it's quite a nice thing for him to do. A dream that he didn't think at that juncture that he would ever get to realise. It was phenomenal in that season. I mean, we can talk about that for hours of what a fairy tale that was. But I think this season very, very solid. Sixth most clean sheets. He's got 9 clean sheets altogether, and very much a reason why Leicester are high flying again as they have been over the last couple of seasons. So very good for me. But I think in terms of the sort of ultimate elite level, which of course his dad would definitely have been in. I think he's just a rank shy of that. So I'd say very good for him.
I just have some news to break to everyone that's just been broken by The Athletic. That the 36 and the 37 games in the Premier League are being shifted back quite dramatically to have 10,000 fans within the stadium. So I just thought that would be some news in case anyone was interested. Anyway, continue on.
Reece, where would you put Kasper Schmeichel?
Well, first of all, I completely disagree with that. Having fans in the last 2 games of the season, I completely disagree with that. But Kasper Schmeichel, I'm going to go back to my own logic based on the rankings here. I said Ederson for me was the only player that gets into the best in the league status. For me, Kasper Schmeichel, I'm going to put borderline best in the league, very good.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm honestly going to say he's not best in the league, and I think very good doesn't do him justice. I literally think he is on the borderline of that for what he can do, because his distribution is perfect. He's very good commanding his box. The only things he's maybe had to cope with the first season in the league, he nearly got relegated. The season after they won the title, they were extremely poor seasons for him. But other than that, he's never realistically been. He's never been a bad goalkeeper in my eye. Even like, it doesn't matter what level, no matter what game or league. I think borderline very good, best in the league is where I would put him. But it looks like based on the unanimous vote, it's going to be very good. But I would say borderline for both.
Next goalkeeper is the lead starter, Evan Meslier, who is, I believe, French. I think if I'm wrong, he's 19 years old. I could be wrong. I think he's very, very young.
Youngest goalkeeper in the Premier League.
He's 19 or 20, something like that. He's
Just
the starter.
cut that up for 2 seconds, lads. Nipan, we are doing a tier list for goalkeepers, dude.
Are you doing the tier list for goalkeepers? Well. I can only let on what's behind me.
Yeah.
But I think Evan Meslier, I actually am going to put this guy in good. I think he has made a lot of mistakes this season, but I am going to very much put into the contrast of how young he is, given he's playing with a non-existent defence in front of him, and the fact it's his first year in the Premier League. So with all things considered, I'm actually going to put him in good because I think he's done a hell of a good job given what he has in front of him and the circumstances within it. Doug?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think he's been good. I think he has had to deal with a very shaky Leeds defence. Leeds defence can be chaotic at times, but what you can say is Meslier has actually kept quite a few clean sheets this season. So for me, I would put him in good.
George?
I'm going to agree with both of you and place him in good. As Doug sort of mentioned, he's kept quite a few clean sheets. It's eight clean sheets in 25 appearances, and he's also made. I know, obviously, Dan was talking about it. That you can make more saves if you are lower down in the league, but he's actually made the second most amount of saves in the Premier League this season. And that you can almost see that though, because obviously as we know with Leeds, everything's sort of like almost like total football sort of thing. Well, not quite that, but just attack as many times as you can and see who scores most. That's the sort of impression you get with Leeds. But I know that he's very highly rated, as you sort of mentioned. He is French, and there's a certain thing that potentially could be a future French number one. Obviously, we've already talked about Hugo Lloris and whether he might eventually sort of drop out, and Doug's obviously said as well that there could be a case of that. And I've also noticed that he's very good. He's a very good shot stopper. Saves a lot as well with his feet. Almost reminds me a bit of David De Gea in that sense, in terms of how good he is with his feet and saving. So for me, overall good.
And Reece?
I feel sorry for him that he plays for such a shit club. I'm honestly going to put him in good as well. Like, I would take him out of Leeds, put a meteor strike on it, and then let him join whatever club he wants. I feel sorry for him that he plays for them.
So you agree with Goodland?
Yeah, I think he is a very good goalkeeper. I mean, he's only 19 years old as well, and to play in the Premier League first season at that age, it's the same as De Gea. De Gea was 19, his first season in the Premier League, and look what he became. Meslier could become great, but he needs to get out of Leeds because, frankly, he's playing for the wrong team. they're going to just make it worse for him.
Yeah.
So
The next one is Kiko Casilla. I am going to put this straight
Roberto.
off the bat. He is absolute garbage. So Roberto.
I totally agree. I'm going to go with Roberto. I think, how was this man the backup of Real Madrid? I will never, ever.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why he was backup.
I'm going to
Because
say.
his surname's Casilla. I think they felt sorry. I think they were feeling sorry for Casilla. They're like, we'll just take him.
I'm gonna go with a Dan. I will literally put his agent in a lead for getting him at Real Madrid as the backup. I don't know why. I also one of the goalkeepers when we talk about Billy Peacock Farrell. Why he replaced him when they win the championship, I will never know. This man is Roberto level all day long.
George?
No, I'm going to say Roberto level as well. Yeah, from all the different things that I've seen of him, he's almost like Fabian Barthez when he was at Manchester United in terms of a massive maverick who just almost seems to do things for no reason, or just sort of various things. Just his positional sense is often quite poor. I've seen him doing lots of sort of slices with clearances and things like that. So yeah, not very good at all. And yeah, Roberto level for me.
Reece? I think that's the first time I've seen Reece speechless before. Oh, goodness.
Oh, fucking hell. I mean, honestly, my favourite goalkeeper of all time, like Doug knows this, Josh knows this, my favourite goalkeeper of all time is Casillas, and I feel generally insulted as a Casillas fan that this guy's called Casilla, because he brings shame on anyone called Casilla or Casillas. He brings shame to the name. So for that reason alone, elite agent Roberto for quality. If there was a level below Roberto, it would be dog shit.
It's right here. I don't think there's anyone that worse than Roberto. Anyway,
100% Roberto.
Next goalkeeper is our friend Areola. He's on loan from Paris Saint-Germain here at Fulham for the season. And I'm going to call. He was the backup to Thibaut Courtois last season. I'm actually going to put him in good. I think our friend Areola has had a good season this year. I think he's put off some really, really top class saves. I think he's a big reason why the Fulham defense is stabilised. I would put him in average, but I feel like he has made the Fulham defence better. I feel like he's a focal point, he's a leader, and he's made a very his Fulham has no real great centre back, but I feel like he helps them. But I'm actually going to go back. I'm not going to put him in good. I'm going to put him in average because I'm going to look back at what he has done at PSG and Real Madrid. He didn't do very good, so given that he probably is a Fulham level goalkeeper, I'll go average. Doug?
This is a tricky one. I think Fulham have been good, but what you can... Sorry if you can hear Freddie outside. I think he's barking like mad out there. For me, I would put him in poor.
The poor? Okay, yeah. All right, George?
It's quite hard, isn't it, with these sort of keepers, because a bit very similar obviously to what Dan was saying, particularly about the most amount of days when you're down there that you're often very, very busy. I would place him in, I think, average overall. Obviously, as you sort of mentioned, on loan from PSG, kept quite a few good clean sheets, has made a lot of good saves. I think in terms of his sort of qualities, he has shown some good command of his box. And he's got quite good reflexes as well when he's making saves. So I'd say, overall average, because obviously, he's sort of, as you've sort of spoken about as well, Fulham level keeper, really. So average for me.
And Reece?
I'm honestly going to say poor. I genuinely think he's fucking dreadful. Like, I've watched him at PSG, I've watched him at Real Madrid, I've watched him at Fulham, and his errors per game, his lack of awareness for certain movements in games, there's particular types of players that he cannot cope with, particularly big strikers. He's not got the strength, he's not got the confidence in himself, he's not good on the ball, he's not particularly good at saving either. he is generally not a good goalkeeper. Average is, if we put him in average, that's just it. Like that's doing justice to average goalkeepers. So it's like he is definitely not an average goalkeeper. He isn't a good goalkeeper. For me, he's definitely poor. There's no doubt about it. For me, he's definitely poor.
It's hard to tell by the chat, but I'm going to put him in average because it seems like
he's not very good. Whoever put that, I think they're on something. Anyway.
If he's very good, right? If he's very good, then I'm world class, and I've only played 2 games as a goalkeeper.
We will put Areola in poor then. Actually, I'll put him in average. Judging by the chat, it looks like average seems to be the majority. Doug?
Yeah, the next goalkeeper is Marek Rodak. I'm going to be honest, I've hardly seen him play.
Who does he play for?
Fulham. He's a substitute goalkeeper. In all honesty, I haven't really seen him play. I know that they had Bettinelli. But apparently Marek Rodak is Slovakia's substitute goalkeeper or something. So he's obviously a good keeper if he's that. But in my opinion, poor. I honestly don't know.
I think we should have a fair bracket for if we honestly haven't seen them. I think it's either Roberto or we have a bracket saying haven't watched them.
I'm actually going to say this now. This will give everyone an acceptance. He was the starting goalkeeper for for a couple of games in the Premier League 2 seasons ago, and also was the starting goalkeeper for half a season in the Championship. To put it into context very simply about this goalkeeper, out of every 5 shots he faced, 4 on average went in. To make a judgment.
Roberto, yeah, bye.
Roberto then, with that sorted.
Sorry, Ben.
Okay, next goalkeeper is a goalkeeper on loan from Roma. Is Robin Olsen, the Swede. He's the starting goalkeeper for Sweden. I'm actually going to put Robin. I'm actually going to put him in good because I actually think when he has played in place of Jordan Pickford, he's actually been all right. Besides the Manchester United game where he made a couple of mistakes, he's actually been better than Jordan Pickford. Actually, no. I'll put him in average. No, I'll put him in average. Actually, I'm changing my bet. I'll put him in average because
I look forward to this one.
I actually put him in average because I did just remember there was another game he made quite a big mistake in. I think it was against Spurs. Yeah, it was against Spurs. So he can save 5 goals in one game. Yeah. So yeah, average for me.
We are getting a raid, by the way. Apparently, Kieran Brown's coming on for Cardiff. He was on loan at Livingston. So, yeah, thank you to Nathan's chat for letting me know about that. I'm going to be put off the bat. Olsen is dreadful. He is dreadful. He is really, really poor. I don't know what it is about him, but he actually got really, I don't know if he got his feet stuck in the mud at Old Trafford, but I have to say, he is shocking. So, he's not quite Roberto, but he's poor. George?
I'm gonna agree with you, Doug. I think he's a poor goalkeeper overall. As you sort of spoke about at Old Trafford, just incredibly static. Obviously, on loan from Roma, as we've already sort of discussed. And he's obviously very experienced, but I think he's on that sort of steady decline, and definitely not going to challenge. Obviously, full time anyway. He's definitely not going to challenge Pickford. So for me, Paul.
And Reece.
Well, I've got the slight advantage over you lot that I watch Serie A a lot more than the 3 of you, and I generally think he is absolutely shocking in goals. And to be fair, to be slightly better than Pickford is...
Reece, just to ask you, when he had the season on Roma, when he replaced Alisson, he did have a shit season. He got shipped on loan to Cagliari the season after.
That's right, yeah. He was absolutely shit, mate. He was absolutely shit. Like, put this way, Everton's weakest position is centre back and goalkeeper because they've got a clown who thinks he's a goalkeeper in Pickford. He realistically should be in a circus act, and they've got centre backs that can't defend. For me, Olsen, I don't even know what he's doing at Everton because he's not good enough for Roma, and Roma aren't a particularly good side either. Like at the moment, for me, 100% poor.
Are Sweden in the Euros this year?
They are.
Yes.
I think.
He's the number one goalkeeper for them.
Yep. What a shame, eh?
They got no one else anyway. It's obviously not Lloris, that's the one beside him.
Yeah, the next one is Jordan Pickford because Russell has gone back to Midtjylland. Pickford.
Can I just say, before we go to Pickford, I think the treatment of Lloris and Everton was disgraceful. The treatment of him was absolutely. They signed him. They didn't give him a single game. They took him back to Huddersfield. He came back, didn't play a single game. I don't even know. I think that is disgraceful.
Hi, Kimberly.
I think that's a disgracement management of a player. Regarding Jordan Pickford, I'm going to go with good. The guy is far too mistake-prone. Like Everton are going to go nowhere with Jordan Pickford. I put him in good simply because he has had a good few games. He has it in him to be a really, really good goalkeeper, but he's too rash, too inconsistent, too mistake-prone. He should not be the England number one. I'm going to go with good. I don't think he's bad enough for average, but he's definitely not good enough for any higher than good.
Oh dear!
Oh, let me at him.
I honestly have to pity you, Jordan Pickford. I know he's had a couple of good games recently, but my goodness me, how this guy is England's number one, I will never know. I think he's on the borderline of average and poor. George?
I agree with you, Doug, in terms of it's quite difficult, isn't it? Sort of somewhere between average and poor, really, for Pickford, because ultimately, obviously, Everton are no slouches in terms of it as a sort of overall team. And obviously Pickford is their designated number one, but he does have a few considerable failings and flaws in his game. I think he's very much one of those goalkeepers who likes to pose for the camera. There's a lot of sort of camera saves that aren't necessarily needed. Lots of sort of simple things that he'll make look very complicated, very good, which has obviously hoodwinked Gareth Southgate into thinking that he deserves to be number one for England.
He must have been.
But I think the overall somewhere between average and poor. I'd probably, it's very difficult, isn't it? Because he's very much splitting those two, isn't he? I will say average, but very begrudgingly. Yeah.
Reece?
I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. I think Jordan Pickford is a Tyrone Mings of goalkeepers. I genuinely think he's a terrible goalkeeper. He's dangerous, and it's contentious as well that I don't know why he should even get to go to the England squad. And obviously, me being Scottish, I hope he starts for England because there's a guarantee Scotland will beat England if he starts in goal. I think Pope's by far England's best goalkeeper, and that's what I honestly, the way I've said it is Olsen goes into poor. For me, Pickford is borderline poor. Roberto, he is fucking shocking as a goalkeeper. I don't know why Everton have even got him. Frankly, if they wanted a goalkeeper that was English, I don't know why they didn't sign Jack Butland ahead of Pickford. That was absolutely stupid. So as far as I'm concerned, he's borderline for me, but he's going into poor. He is the Tyrone Mings of goalkeepers.
I'm going to just say one thing about that. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Anyway, so we're going to move on to the Crystal Palace goalkeeper, Guaita. I think I'm going to be bold. I'm going to put this guy in very good. I don't think he's actually, I've never seen him make a mistake as Crystal Palace goalkeeper. I think he's extremely consistent. He's extremely really good at organising the front line. I think he should be maybe another Arsenal. I think he should be at Spurs over Hugo Lloris, in my opinion. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, I think Guaita, given the club that he's at and the team that he's with, I'm going to go with very good. Doug?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think Diego's in the chat, and that save from Matic the other night was absolutely fantastic save. So for me, Guaita, I think he's had a very good season. So for me, he's very good. And I agree with Josh. I don't think he's made a mistake yet as Crystal Palace goalkeeper.
George?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you. I think very good goalkeeper. In fact, he was actually on a free transfer. That's how that got from when they acquired him in July 2018. He's made the eighth most amount of saves in the
Who was it he
League.
joined from again? I know it was a Spanish club. I can't remember who it was. Was it Levante?
I think, yeah, I haven't got that sort of written down on my notes that I was making before.
Diego, confirm who it was, mate.
Was it Getafe?
It's one of them, yeah. I can't remember who it was. It's either Getafe or Levante, but I'm not sure.
Shane O'Donnell saying Ibar.
Was that even so? Like they're a very established side in the league for the way he plays football. So
I think, yeah, very obviously extremely courageous goalkeeper, good overall handling and holding onto the ball when he's making saves as well. So I put him good.
Sebastian, I'm sorry, but Guaita is too good to be a number 2.
he's Romero for he's Romero similar, to be honest.
Cardiff has scored. Nathan's fans are on their way. Yep, here comes.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone from Nathan's stream.
Cardiff haven't actually scored according to my app, so it looks like Nathan's just being generous. Anyway,
he's a good guy, Nathan. To be fair, he's a very, very good guy, and his dad's a great person as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Nathan.
And just everyone in the raid.
Bluebird legend is literally just shut them up by saying no, we haven't.
Yeah, no, I just seen. I thought you were in, but maybe Nathan's just been. But everyone, make sure you subscribe to this beautiful man that's under me in Douglas. Subscribe to him. If you don't, get out. The raid's not welcome.
Lewis Locke comment of the
no,
night.
Everyone's welcome on this channel. Everyone's welcome on this channel.
Lewis Locke with comment of the night. No goal. We're just bored.
Right, so great to go to the very good. No, Doug. Wayne Henderson
Didn't even get my opinion, but yeah.
I thought you said your opinion. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you said.
No, I didn't even get asked. To be fair, I don't agree with anybody. To be honest, I think he's in that position. I genuinely think he's. I feel sorry for him playing for Crystal Palace. Frankly, I think he would turn Newcastle around, like in that position, even though they're pish. I could see him at a top 6 club in the next year or two, even though, despite his age. I think he could certainly be a number 1 for a club for quite a while. I think Arsenal could benefit from him, to be honest, because I don't think their goalkeepers are particularly good.
Yeah, I agree with Guaita for sure, and very good.
Just to say about this one, this is Wayne Henderson, but we'll go with Jack Butland. And Jack Butland's technically the number 2.
Has he even played?
I'm going to put him in poor, mate.
In the FA Cup, as far as I can recall.
I'm going to put him in poor because he's not been good since his Stoke days. He's completely regressed with his injuries.
Thank you, Reece. Thank you. I totally agree with you.
I used to like Jack Butland, by the way. I used to like Jack Butland, but he's completely regressed. I think putting him above average is wrong. Especially, he was very good for Stoke, so I'm not taking that away from him. Like, he was actually very good. He could have went to a top club, but injuries got in the way. He never recovered from that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's poor.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to answer the thing's question, I'm Chelsea. Doug below me is Liverpool. George under him is Manchester United, and then Reece, who's behind the comment, is also Manchester United.
Yeah, hiding my face, eh?
Chelsea, the biggest club in England. That's why I'm top. So,
bollocks! These are not the biggest club. You maybe like 4th.
Anyway, we still got goalkeepers today. We're going to move on to. We're going to move on to the Chelsea ones. We're moving on to Edouard Mendy, who joined from who's he joined from? Nice. That's it. No, was it Nice? You
better not put him best in the league, because he is not best in the league.
If he does, he's getting chucked out by you. If he does,
I'm going to put Edouard Mendy in good. I think the guy hasn't done anything world beating yet. I'll be honest.
Josh, I think Mendy came from Rennes, didn't he?
Oh, Rennes. Sorry, I got Rennes and I got Rennes and Nice mixed up.
The Rennes Chewy Suite. That's what it is.
I'm going to go. I put Mendy in good. Mendy has definitely helped us. I think he's able to make saves. That's we're that desperate at Chelsea at the moment that we just need someone who can make a save. So I'm pleased with that. But
Well, you got Petr Cech as fourth choice goalkeeper. He can make a save.
He has made some really big saves this season against Manchester United. He made a good save against Spurs as well. So when we've needed to make a save under a very good defence off to a goal, I think he's been there, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He has made a few mistakes. His playing from the back's a bit dodgy. So I think he's good. Doug?
I think he's borderline good / average, if I'm being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
George?
It's quite difficult again with Mendy. I'd say, because obviously Chelsea, as we know, have had quite a considerable amount of clean sheets. Obviously, the defence itself has done very well. In fact, Mendy's actually third at the moment in the Golden Glove race with 11 clean sheets. Obviously, he's going to struggle to get past to get up to obviously City levels. But I think from what I've seen of him, he has been good overall. Some good saves. I think he's very much a modern keeper again in that sort of like sweeper keeper role. But of course, he's nowhere near the level of Ederson.
I think a letdown for him, just to cut interject there, a letdown for him is he played in the French league for too long, and it's not particularly a good league for a goalkeeper to improve upon.
Yeah, I think overall I'll be kind to Josh and I'll place him in good.
Go ahead, Reece.
I think I will give him his credit where he's due. Right, like when he came in, obviously he got ahead of Kepa, which is the right thing to do because Kepa is going straight to Roberto when it gets to his turn. He's going straight to Roberto. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but I see the goalkeepers usually being linked with him this summer. I don't see Mendy being your starting goalkeeper next summer. Pains me to say this, being as a guy who loves Italian football, and there's one team in particular that I have a strong following for, and that's Milan. I see Donnarumma being the Chelsea goalkeeper next season, which would fucking kill me. I think he's had a good season, but I don't think he's particularly that good. I think he's benefited from the system and the manager change, where the clean sheets have came from most particularly. I would say borderline good average.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I would agree.
So in general, then Mendy makes it really good. I've got two things to say. Number one, Doug, my system's not as accurate as yours, but if my system is right, you got 9 subs off Nathan's read, so
Oh, excellent! Excellent.
Also to say, the reason why we got rated was this was the Cardiff City half. This is against Huddersfield Town. Cardiff had 32% possession, 0 shots, and completely off on non-target against Huddersfield Town. So, yeah.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
Anyway, go ahead, Doug. Move on to the next Chelsea goalkeeper.
The next one is Willy Caballero. Wow, I don't think there's much to be said. I think he is poor.
I'm actually going to disagree with you massively. I'm going to say, so we call the first show, Caballero is one of the big reasons why Chelsea made into the top 4 last season. Mm-hmm. He came in, don't get me wrong, Chelsea defensively were still not amazing, but he came in, he solidified that defence, he got us to the FA Cup final by making some incredible saves as the cup keeper. He's older than Patricio. He's older than Petr Cech. Let me just emphasize that. He's actually 2 years older than Petr Cech, but he's the reason why Chelsea got in. Is the reason why Chelsea got into the top 4 because he made some really big saves in some crucial games. He solidified that defense. He filled with confidence. I feel so bad for him. He went from first choice to second choice to third choice. But I'm actually going to put him in average. He's nothing better than average. Don't get me wrong. But I think he's not poor because he's never let Chelsea down. Since he's been here, and I respect the guy a ton. He's a great professional to have around the club, and I think when he's gone, he will be missed within the dressing room.
George?
Yeah, I think overall, he's probably one of the most average goalkeepers in the Premier League. Just almost sort of the definition of average, really, with Caballero. Just relatively decent at almost all characteristics of goalkeeping. As you sort of mentioned, you never sort of tie him in necessarily with any terrible mistakes. And obviously, he's been a hero on various occasions for Chelsea. So
if it wasn't for him, we would not have won the FA Cup under Antonio Conte, because Norwich would have knocked us out if it wasn't for his penalties and saves.
Yeah, so he's obviously he's very capable, but ultimately average altogether. So that's where I'd place him.
Reece?
I actually disagree with every single one of you.
You're going to put him in good?
I actually think he is. Yeah, I think he is massively underrated by most people, even though he's in his 40s. I'm going to go back on certain things as well. He's one of the best goalkeepers when it comes to commanding his box from the ball. Bear in mind, he was there just a backup to Claudio Bravo, who was, in fairness, he wasn't particularly great in the Premier League at Man City, but he was one of the best goalkeepers at the time, and he took him completely. He was also the reason Man City beat Liverpool in that penalty shootout. His record from a penalty save perspective is phenomenal.
Yeah,
he was very good for Man City in the Champions League when he played for them as well, and he's consistent for Chelsea. If Kepa hadn't been a clown in that final, Chelsea would have won that final because they would have won on penalties, in my opinion.
There's 2 points I want to make. One, you're all right, because Kepa made a really bad mistake for
the Aguero. Right.
Kepa made a bad mistake for the Aguero penalty in that Carabao Cup final. Caballero more than likely would have saved.
Exactly.
And two, I think the thing that ruined Caballero was the World Cup with Argentina. Those first 2 games when you had 2 absolute nightmares of a game. I feel like that's where things started.
I think the problem with that World Cup, though, to be honest, was the only problem with that World Cup though was that, like, the way they set out to play. Like, they consistently changed their defence in that World Cup as well. The system that Jorge actually employed was not good enough for Caballero. It didn't fit him at all. So based on that, yeah, that's a fair point, because obviously an international tournament can affect a player's performance. Obviously, it's a democracy. We're all going to go based on that. So it is going to be average. For me, I've got so much respect for Willy Caballero. Like, I think he's similar to Sergio Romero in the sense of he could do a number one job for any team. It's just a shame that he's not been able to do it. I actually think he's a very good. Not very good, but for me, he is a good goalkeeper.
He did a really good job on Atletico Bilbao. If I think of it, he was a certain goalkeeper there for a while, and he did a really, really good job. So I think he's a good goalkeeper. Anyway, moving on next. Or do we all agree on this? Do we need to really talk about
this?
Yeah. He is not getting above Roberto. If anybody says he is poor or average or good or even above that, just block them, because Roberto's the only answer.
So the actual next one is Billy Peacock Farrell. He was the starting goalkeeper. He was the starting goalkeeper for Leeds United until he got replaced by the guy who's also in the Roberto section, Casilla. He's the second choice keeper to the Pope. He's actually Northern Irish. He's our starting goalkeeper at international level. I'm going to put Peacock Farrell. This is judging on international appearances, because he's only played once in the. He's only played once in the league, and that's the 6-0 loss to 5-0 loss to City at the Etihad. He's played twice in the cup, and he was all right. International level, he has saved our backside so many times, and he was one of the reasons why we got to the European playoff final, because he made 2 saves against Bosnia to get us through. So for me, I'm going to go with average. Doug?
The fact that you're basing this on Northern Ireland just shows how clueless you actually are on Bailey Peacock Farrell. This guy went to Burnley from Leeds because he had a falling out with Bielsa. And actually, the last time I actually watched him play for Leeds, he was shocking. So I'm going to be honest. I think he is borderline poor Roberto.
Yep.
George?
I'd probably place him in the poor category overall. Certainly. Obviously, as you've sort of spoken about, Northern Ireland's got a goalkeeper, where potentially he has shown some good sort of form. But I think, overall, the clubs that he's played for in the league, I think he's definitely not, pulled up any trees whatsoever. And I think poor for him overall.
And Reece?
I've got no words for him. Poor.
I'll shoot forward. Moving on, Doug.
Nick Pope. This guy is one of the most underrated keepers yet. I think he could easily start at a top 6 club. For me, Nick Pope goes in very good.
I would completely agree. I think you got a really good Burnley defense plus Nick Pope. It's something you don't particularly come up against. I think he saves Burnley on so many occasions. He made some really good. I think he made a really good save against Leicester as well. This guy rarely makes any mistakes. He is the definition of a Mr. Reliable and goalkeeper for me. He is absolutely very good.
George?
Yeah, very good for me. Obviously, Pope has had quite an interesting and quite a hard journey, I think, compared to most professional footballers in terms of his sort of backstory. Obviously, let go from Ipswich Town, and obviously didn't necessarily get. We'll watch an interview from him this afternoon as well, where he was sort of discussing bits and pieces, and he sort of models his game on so many different goalkeepers, and he takes a really sort of analytical view of how he sort of models his game. So he's incredibly keen to improve, and I think overall in terms of his goalkeeping ability, there's no doubt that he should be, he's definitely in the very good category, almost sort of pushing things up. Should probably be England's number one. Hopefully going to displace Jordan Pickford. But yeah, a very good shot stopper. I think he's absolutely superb. He makes some ridiculously outstanding saves, and I think overall he's just a phenomenal goalkeeper. So very good for me.
Next goalkeeper is. Oh, sorry, I can't get ahead of myself. My apologies. Sorry.
For me, I'm probably going to make the most controversial comment of the night. I think if De Gea, yeah, I'm going to say it. Fuck it. I think if Ederson, Alisson, De Gea, and Kasper Schmeichel were not in this league, for me, Nick Pope would be best in the league category.
Wow.
I actually don't disagree.
I'm in agreement as well.
I honestly believe Nick Pope is England's best goalkeeper, and it's not even by a mile. It's not even by like a country distance. For me, he is galaxy levels ahead. And obviously, I have fucking like Dean Henderson. For me, he's absolutely phenomenal. But for me, Nick Pope, he is extremely underrated, and it's a damn shame he is. I think in terms of like the only other goalkeeper of his level who's just as good, who gets there that isn't English, is Martinez. I genuinely think Nick Pope is borderline. But if those 4 goalkeepers I just mentioned before were not in the Premier League, he would be the best in the league. So for me, borderline, he is extremely good. He deserves the number 1 spot, but obviously Pickford's got Southgate's nudes, so he's going to be starting first as the goalkeeper, which for me puts a smile on my face anyway, because that means England will be shite. But yeah, I would honestly say if those 4 weren't in the league, he'd be best in the league, and for that he's borderline, so it looks like he's going into very good.
Next goalkeeper is the Brighton backup. It is Mr. Jason Steele. Jason Steele, I don't know if anyone will remember this, but he was the number one goalkeeper at Sunderland in the Sun Until I Die series. He's shit.
Oh, bloody hell, not another one.
He is Roberto level, mate. He is Roberto level for me. I don't have to say much. I've seen that documentary, and every episode is just as funny as the Spurs one.
He is poor. He is honestly dreadful.
Are we going Roberto level, and we've got no disagreements on this?
I'd say Roberto level for me. I mean, obviously, I think he was in it against Newport. I think they played in the FA Cup where he was playing as well, and there was just some crazy things that he did. There was an attempted kick that went absolutely incredibly wild. He totally missed a cross as well. Obviously, in the last kick of the game, where Steele came running out, totally missed. Obviously, with his attempted clearance, it was.
I think Henderson's his role model. That's how shite he is.
Simply because of kit colours, we're going to pretend Paulo Gazzaniga is Robert Sanchez, so we'll go with
that. He had, to be fair, Robert Sanchez has been waiting for his chance at Brighton for a long time, considering that Matt Ryan was there for a wee while. I'm going to put him in average.
I'm going to probably agree with that. I think The guy's nothing world beaten. He hasn't done anything borderline shockingly bad yet, but he hasn't done anything that's going to make you go, wow. I find it very interesting. The whole Matt Ryan situation was very interesting with Brighton. I think it was I don't know, a few things deteriorated really, really quick. So yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think he's just an average goalkeeper. George, you want to go ahead since Doug and Reece have disappeared?
I sort of agree with both you and Doug, Josh. I think, just an average goalkeeper overall. I think obviously he's from the youth setup, waited quite some time, as Doug sort of alluded to as well. Had a relatively okay season in terms of clean sheets. He's quite decent in terms of his positional sense and quite an okay good shot stopper. Relatively athletic as well as a goalkeeper. So he's got a few. He's got all the right attributes, but decent in all of them. So average for me.
And Reece?
Yeah, same as before. I agree with everything mentioned. Average.
All right, go ahead, Doug.
The next one is Matt Ryan.
I've moved Matt Ryan to Arsenal, so it's Emi Martinez.
Oh, very good for me, Emi Martinez. The fact that this guy was a second choice goalkeeper at Arsenal sold the wrong goalkeeper, in my opinion. This guy is very good.
I'm gonna agree. I think he. How do you Arsenal get rid of him in the circumstances that what he did? Like, how do you? Honestly, I understand Leno was an investment, but you never get rid of someone who's in form and someone the really sad thing for him is that he loved Arsenal. He actually had the passion for that club. So for me, I think he's a phenomenal goalkeeper. I think he's made one mistake all season long, and the field defense isn't anything too special. So yeah, I'm going to go very good.
13 clean sheets. Only Ederson has more. George?
In fact, Doug, you've almost sort of stolen my thunder there, because that was exactly what I was going to bring up. I've got that sort of within my notes as well. Phenomenal clean sheet record. One of the reasons I think that Aston Villa are flying as high as they are comparatively to last season. Much more solid defence, which allows the likes of Jack Grealish, as it has been, obviously Aston Villa to attack, with much greater freedom than they might have otherwise done maybe last season. I think he's overall incredibly good shot stopper, good overall handling as well. I've seen multiple times he's very good at holding on to shots as well. So obviously when he has rasping shots at him, he's good at holding on to it and making sure it doesn't bounce out or rebound, which is an admirable trait, and he's very good at that. Very brave and superb goalkeeper. And as you've already sort of mentioned, it was I think potentially the incorrect decision by Arsenal when they had the choice between him and Leno as to who they were going to back. They potentially made the incorrect choice, because Martinez, particularly this season as well, has been outstanding whenever I've watched him. So very good for me.
Reece?
Keane's comment is exactly the same for me in regards to Nick Pope when it comes to Martinez. It literally sums up for me. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Bernd Leno is going straight to average. I think he's an average goalkeeper. But Martinez, he's finally shown what he's capable of. I genuinely feel sorry for him, like that he hasn't. They wasn't given a fair chance, because he was fantastic in that fight. I'm pretty sure he played in that cup final as well.
He did, yes.
And he was very good. So
he played in the Community Shield as well, if I'm right.
Yeah, he was so reliable as well. He's such an underrated goalkeeper, and it's a shame that he was moved on. Frankly, he's turned Villa around as well. He's saving grace for them. So he's going to be in a shout for the Golden Glove. I genuinely think he could potentially nick it from Ederson. I think he actually could do it. So for me, very good.
Moving on to Arsenal's second choice, my third choice goalkeeper, who's a free agent and a panic buy on transfer deadline day, Rudigerson, or however you say his bloody name. I think I'm going to say very straight. I'm going to show it here. Yeah, this guy's Roberto level. This guy, he can even do it in the Europa League, and that alone is embarrassing enough. So, Doug?
It's shocking. It is absolutely shocking. I can't remember what goal it was, but there was one goal against City where he literally just, I think it was a free kick, and he let it go under his hand. So Runarsson is shockingly bad. So yeah, definitely Roberto. George?
Absolutely agree with you guys. Definitely Roberto level. I know that obviously just a plethora of horrendous errors. Almost sort of like, I don't know if you guys who are sort of non-United fans will remember Massimo Taibbi.
No, no.
But it's that sort of like, it's that sort of horrendous nature. I mean, I won't sort of bring up the name again, Reece, but that's the sort of level that we're talking. So yeah, Roberto for me.
And Reece, to finish it off, I'm assuming you're going to go Roberto. So Doug, do you want to be on to the next one?
It's Tom Heaton. Is it Tom Heaton?
And Tom Heaton, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Heaton. Yeah, good for me. Always a solid goalkeeper for me. Very unlucky with injuries. Tom Heaton goes in good.
I'm actually going to say I think this guy's really unlucky. He's at Burnley, he put Nick Post ahead of him, and then he goes to Finland, and then Martinez is ahead of him. So I actually think the guy's a good goalkeeper. He just needs to go to your club that doesn't have an amazing goalkeeper ahead of him. I actually think he's a good shot stopper. He is probably getting a bit on the old side now. But this guy is not a guy who you can put a net and he'll let you down. I think he's a really good goalkeeper. I just think he's been so unlucky that he's had two really good goalkeepers ahead of him at the two clubs that he's been in the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I'm going to go with good.
Sure.
I'll agree with both of you. I think Tom Heaton, good goalkeeper. Always very creditable in terms of all the sort of saves that he's pulled off. He's had plenty of games where he's been almost incredible. In various games, so it's a really good shot stopper, and I'd say good for Heaton.
Reece?
Yeah, I agree. Good. Constant professional. Just unlucky that he's had two exceptional goalkeepers ahead of him that's limited him to being better. But when called upon, he's reliable. He very rarely makes a mistake. Yeah, 100% for me. He gets into good.
I'm going to next goalkeeper is now the on loaney goalkeeper at Arsenal, the backup to Leno is Matt Ryan. I'm going to go with average. I think Matt Ryan in the first couple of seasons was actually quite good, but he is on the decline. I think he got chucked out of Brighton for a reason. He's starting to become very mistake prone. He's a very rash goalkeeper. He's extremely rash. I don't think he's anything special. I think probably under Chris Hughton he was very good, but the last couple of seasons he's not been anything great. But he hasn't gone too but he isn't on a massive decline. So I'm going to go with average. Doug?
It's probably one of the weirdest signings, I would say, in January. To get Matt Ryan, who was homesick. So the fact that he's gone, says he's a big Arsenal fan, says he's like an Arsenal fan as well, but yeah, I think he started good at Brighton, and then he's kind of fallen off the pecking order. So for me, average.
George?
I'll agree with both of you. I think average. As Doug sort of mentioned, he's a lifelong. He's sort of says he's a lifelong Gooner. Always supported Arsenal. So it's one of those things, a bit like with Odi and Igalo at Man United, when you sort of have that real passion and desire to sort of fulfil a lifelong ambition or dream and go to the club that you always want, and play for them. So that's probably the reason he sort of made the transition. Solid, got a clean pair of hands and brave. And obviously, I think one of his sort of good things as well about him is that he's got very good communication. I've sort of seen him. I even watched a video of him which Arsenal do on their sort of official YouTube channel, where we just listened to his communication. So when it was literally just focusing on him, and he was sort of talking to all of them in obviously with Gabby and Cedric, he was talking to them in Spanish. In order to help them, so sort of like saying all sorts of instructions in Spanish and so forth. So good communication levels, overall, and solid goalkeeper. So I'd say average.
Reece?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fair. I mean, he did keep them up as well. I remember his first game against Man United in the Premier League when Brighton won that game. He was actually very solid as well. He made some very good saves. Control, mind you, that was a couple of years back, but since then he's still kicked on. It's just a shame that he has slightly regressed. The move, if he was homesick, generally should have went back, but it will help him having some Spanish speakers around him. That will at least take some edge off it. But no, he's not a particularly bad goalkeeper. He's pretty much okay. So yeah, average is the it doesn't make any detriment to him because he has moments where he can be really good. So yeah, average.
Okay, the next one is Burnt Leno. This is going to be a very interesting one. Josh, what are you
Average.
saying for Burnt Leno?
I'm going to put him on average. Honestly, I would pay. I'll pay £1,000 to Arsenal fans to honestly know what the hype is around this guy. I honestly don't see any hype around him. I think he's a really, really average goalkeeper. He can pull off world class saves. Yet he doesn't make any too bad mistakes. He's decent from playing out from the back. I just don't understand why this guy was picked over Martinez. I don't see the logic behind it, except for the fact that he cost a good 35 million. I think it's signed from Bayer Leverkusen. I think that's the only reason why he remained at the club was because of the money that he's on. So I'm going to go with average.
It was 22.5 million.
But bonuses and all of that took it up to 35.
Right. I would honestly say, sorry, Arsenal fans, he's a poor goalkeeper for me. He's poor. George?
I'm going to sort of say I think average overall. It sort of evens itself out. I think he can be good. He is quite a good shot stopper, but he does have these sort of reckless tendencies. I mean, we obviously with regards to the Wolves game when he obviously got himself sent off, came rushing out of his box and then sort of punched out into touch, and then he knew he'd done it as well. It was obviously with VAR. What's quite funny on that is that Wolves have a official TikTok account, and what they took down the post that they made of that, but they had a over the song over that bit because they showed that obviously the Wolves official TikTok showed that bit, and they said.
I came in like a wrecking ball, wasn't it?
No, it was obviously with the final countdown song, but this time it was like it's the final brain cell. Obviously, it was absolutely hilarious. But I think because on TikTok you have to have a certain amount of likes or shares before you can, likes or comments before you can save the video. So I couldn't save it to be able to have it. And the next time I checked Wolves' official TikTok account, it had been taken down. So I think someone had obviously said to the admin, that's going to be classified as bullying. You can't do that. And they obviously took it down. But it was very, very funny. And obviously a lot of people really liked it. But yeah, he can be very reckless. So average for me.
Just to say again, I said that he hasn't pulled off any world-class saves in case my audio was bad. But I don't think Burnham has made any world-class saves. I don't think he's capable of doing it.
Reece?
I'm Scottish, but the team I support internationally has always been Germany. If he goes to the Euros, I'll be absolutely fucking furious. I don't actually think he's good enough. I think he's below average. I honestly think he's poor. He's not a good goalkeeper. Playing out from the back, he's one of the worst as well. I think it's actually quite fraudulent that fans think he can play it from the back because he actually can't. Petr Cech couldn't do it. But Petr Cech could actually play a ball better.
He's fifth in the league for playing out from the back, though, in terms of statistics and all.
I think the statistics must be bloody wrong then because he's diabolical.
Wasn't there a stat? I think it was Dubravka, Leno, Pickford, and De Gea had more errors leading to goals. I think so. For me, Leno's made too many mistakes to be a good Arsenal goalkeeper. I'm sorry.
Next is Alisson. Obviously a very quick note to obviously all thoughts and prayers go to Alisson and his family for the loss of his father. And terrible circumstances. Obviously so much emotions going on, and they can't even go over to Brazil properly with quarantine rules and all that. So all thoughts and prayers definitely go to Alisson's dad. I'm sure it's a very difficult time for him and his family. So everyone is there for him and supports him. But regarding his goalkeeping abilities, I'm going to go very good. He's had a difficult year this year, but he wasn't. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 22 different centre back partnerships? You're in a very brittle Liverpool team. He has very little confidence. The dressing room is struggling mentally at the moment, and it's a tough place to be in as a goalkeeper in that situation. So for me, I think it's very good. I just think the guy in general is not a bad goalkeeper. It's just been a difficult time for Liverpool in every sense way of form this year. So I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be anywhere else but there. Dog.
I have to agree, sadly. On his day, he is one of the best in the league, but he's not at the Ederson yet. And I think he has been. Look, on his day, he is one of the best keepers. I will say that now. He's just having a very poor season, but for me, he's very good.
George?
Yeah, I'll agree with both of you. I think he is a very good goalkeeper. He's maybe not had his best of seasons. Obviously, I watched the entirety of the Manchester City Liverpool match, for example, where he made obviously a couple of absolutely horrendous, and I mean, terrible errors. But overall, that's not the sort of Alisson that I'm sure Doug's sort of grown to love, really, because he obviously had fixed your defence, hadn't he, in terms of winning major trophies, and he has to be in the very good category. Alisson does obviously very good distribution normally, just had a few errors that have really sort of, I think, lowered his reputation, I think, in most fans' eyes from good, because arguably you could say that he was one of the best in the league, I think. Like a year ago even, or any in those sort of regions. But I think, he's suffering, as you sort of alluded to. Everyone really with Liverpool is suffering from not having Virgil van Dijk there, because there was one game with Van Dijk against Everton, I think it was, when you won the league. I can't remember if it was that season or the season before, but when you were away at Everton, Doug, I'm not sure if you remember, where I think you drew 0-0, and Everton absolutely dominated that match in terms of an offensive approach, but Van Dijk was literally everywhere. He was literally on the end of absolutely everything. So to lose Van Dijk for Alisson has really, I think, been detrimental for him. And obviously having that fluctuating back line is no good for anyone. But overall, I think very good for Alisson.
Reece?
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I said, I don't think he gets the best in the league category. He has moments where he can be great, but there's also a lot of games, not just this season, but when you won the Champions League, when you won the league last year, there were games where he wasn't actually particularly good either. He was just fortunate that nobody could actually put the ball past him.
He was fantastic in the Champions League final.
Yeah, but Spurs were equally shit as well.
True. Yeah.
But in the seasons he's been at, since he joined Roma, there's been games where he's actually been very good for Liverpool, but there's also been times when he's actually been considerably average. But he's just benefited that he's had a good defence in front of him, that even when he faced a shot, he wasn't particularly good. He was able to just hold his own. He's definitely not best in the league for me, but very good is definitely accurate. No, I'm sorry, I don't think so. I'm going to have to disagree with that comment, because even like Van Dijk, he had some good games, and you look at how he played against Villa, he was absolutely awful in that game against Villa, and he's rightfully got smashed. I don't think you would have been in the top two this season. In all fairness, I don't think you would be. I think consistency, Liverpool.
I think the biggest issue for Liverpool has been no fans, hasn't it? We're now seeing that particularly at Anfield. The last 5 defeats. Obviously, I don't want to depress Doug, but the last 5 home defeats, obviously in the league, and particularly, obviously there were draws and other things at Anfield as well, aren't there? And if you look at Liverpool's record, what was it? How many games was it that you went unbeaten at Anfield? 40 something, wasn't it? Yeah. So obviously it looks like 4 seasons, wasn't it? Something like that you went unbeaten at Anfield. It became a real fortress. And I think once you've sort of lost that magic, that sort of spark, which I think the crowd, obviously, and just the whole field of Anfield, we've seen plenty of times. Obviously, we saw in the Champions League against Barcelona. And I, as you know, Doug, I predicted that you were going to come back on that night as well, Anfield, because he just crazy things happen at Anfield. Teams can just absolutely fall apart, as we saw. Who was the team you played in the UEFA Cup where you came back against? Which team was it? The famous
Patricio.
one. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were. That was another really famous night. And I think Anfield not being a fortress anymore because of lack of fans, or for whatever reason it's going to be. That is going to be, I think, when fans back in the ground, I think that's going to have a big impact on how Liverpool compete, I think.
And so do you want to introduce our final goalkeeper?
Do I have to? Is that Adrian? Right, I'm gonna be fair. When Alisson was injured in the title-winning season, Adrian actually stepped up and he actually played well in some games, but he is error prone. So I think he's borderline poor / Roberto, in my opinion.
I think the only thing that keeps Adrian above Roberto for me is that he has proven he can be a good goalkeeper. Because I thought West Ham, he was very good at West Ham. And in his first probably 10 games he played for Liverpool, he was actually decent. He won Liverpool the Super Cup against us. Made some really, really big saves in that game. So I think after that, I think obviously he couldn't play from the back. I think the pressure of a big club got to him. So I think for that reason he's poor. But just those small good performances he did have at the start is the reason why he's not at Roberto level.
George?
I would say poor overall for Adrian. Was he not the goalkeeper when you played Atletico Madrid last year? Was he not the one that was in goal then? Yeah, and there was a few times on there where his positional sense wasn't the best. Awful. I think obviously when Llorente had his shots, I think particularly on it was the first one, wasn't it? It was one of them where he was hopelessly.
George, just to add to your point, you'll like this, okay? Marcus Llorente, since that game has only missed 6 games for Atletico Madrid for the rest of that season and the start of this season, and also got a boost of 150k in wages since that game. So Adrian literally made his career better.
That's quite. I think. I think when Adrian, I think. Also, I seem to remember. I think Liverpool do have a habit, and obviously, of when they have a very poor result, they do have a habit of really going after the goalkeeper or not necessarily supporting him. So I think in the aftermath of that match against Atletico Madrid, I seem to remember. Again, it's so long ago, and obviously that lockdown and all that sort of stuff has really might have impacted my memory. But I seem to remember that there was obviously a lot of criticism of Adrian, which wasn't necessarily valid, because obviously Liverpool that night were just literally cross constantly with no sort of no plan B or anything. But obviously Adrian was the main fall guy for that, and obviously we all know what happened with maybe slightly more justifiably, but we all know what happened with Karius, where Gareth Bale had to actually come across, didn't he, to console Karius, because none of the Liverpool players were interested in doing so. And I think that was very similar with what happened with Adrian that night as well. It was just a case, maybe it's because standards are so high, but there was obviously a lack of camaraderie towards Adrian that night. And also, like I said, Karius prior to that. But I think overall for Liverpool, Adrian has been poor. So poor is where I place him.
So, sorry.
Adrian. Poor. I genuinely don't think he's a good goalkeeper. I genuinely think as an understudy, I genuinely think he's Mignolet level of a goalkeeper, and Mignolet was atrocious. I don't think he's a good goalkeeper at all. Yeah, he had moments where he stepped up for Liverpool when Alisson was injured, but he also had in those games as well, in between that run when Alisson was injured, he had a lot of games where he was actually the goals he was conceding were very appalling, like that schoolboy error goalkeeping. I don't think I wouldn't say he's Roberto. I think he's better than that, but he's definitely below average.
Who are the 3 left, Josh?
Well, obviously 2 of them are as Agnes Gunn and Ederson. That's the fair choice keeper of a fella who I have no clue who he is, so I left him out. But what I will do to make things interesting is I will name 3 goalkeepers. These are goalkeepers I'm not. These are goalkeepers I'm not currently in the league now, but I'll just to get rid of them, we'll put them in here. So we'll say this guy here. We'll go with Simon Mignolet. Doug.
Oh God.
He was your starter for a while. Then obviously became your backup and left for Club Rouge. So
that's because Brendan Rodgers was a clown for decisions for a goalkeeper.
I can actually tell you who that is. I think it's either Nyland or it's Jed Steer.
It's not.
I think it's Neil.
I don't think it's Nyland. No, I don't think so, because Nyland didn't have a beard.
It's Jed Steer then.
Yeah.
George, where would you put Mignolet?
Obviously, it would be quite tempting to say he was a good goalkeeper, just because of how much he cost. He cost obviously a rival team, but yeah, I think overall, almost a meme really. Mignolet in terms of how many errors he made and just what a hopeless player he was. I think to be fair, if I'm being completely honest and logical, Roberto for him.
And Reece?
Yeah, George is spot on. Roberto level.
Doug, I'll give this one to you. What about Kelleher? Where would you put him?
Kelleher, I think he is a good keeper. I actually think he's a good keeper. I think he's actually stepped up when he's been called upon. I don't think he's good as a number one. And it remains to be seen if he'll be a number two. I think Adrian's out at the end of the season, so I think Kelleher will probably be our backup. But for me, he's a good keeper, so I'm going to put him in good.
All right, and then George and Reece, I look forward to seeing what you guys say about this one. What about Van der Sar?
Van der
Best
Sar,
in the league.
like there should literally be a god tier that's well above that best.
Like,
You know what?
only
I'll
God,
make-
if there was a god tier, I would put him in it. Only three goalkeepers.
I'll make things difficult for you, okay? You have to pick between Kasper Schmeichel and Van der Sar.
Easy, Van der Sar.
So we have to pick a goalkeeper between Kasper Schmeichel and Van der Sar.
Van der Sar. Right, so Reece is saying it's Van der Sar by miles.
Van der Sar is for me the best goalkeeper I've ever seen in the Premier League. Ahead of Petr Cech.
Or are you going with Schmeichel?
I would say, well, if it was, obviously you've got more of a debate if it's his dad, because then you've sort of got you're in that sort of best five goalkeepers in Premier League history, which I think Van der Sar and Pete Schmeichel are in.
I meant Pete Schmeichel, not Kasper Schmeichel. That's my fault.
Also got Van der Sar holds the record as well for the clean sheets in the Premier League as well. Consecutive clean sheets, he holds that record.
I would say for me, of those two, I'd still say Peter Schmeichel. I know obviously Van der Sar wasn't. Both of them are incredible goalkeepers. Absolutely outstanding. Like I said, top five goalkeepers of all time in the Premier League, without a shadow of a doubt. And we've been, obviously, Manchester United fans, we've been incredibly privileged to have both of those goalkeepers. But for me, Peter Schmeichel was, his long throws, for example, were absolutely legendary. He could throw the ball like an Exocet missile to start off counterattacks at Manchester United. His standards never dropped, never waned. He was incredibly good at communication. He was a phenomenal shot stopper. Peter Schmeichel for me, but obviously Van der Sar's right up there with him. As Reece sort of said, so many clean sheets, that he had, and so many different bits and pieces for both of them. So both of them top five Premier League keepers of all time. For me, yep. Peter Schmeichel of those two. But like I said, you could easily go either way.
Yeah,
there we go, Doug. So it's up to you for you to.
That question was actually really interesting. Bring it back up, Keane's question, because I can give you the straight answer right now. Van der Gouw, Roberto, Gorham, best in the league for Scotland, poor in England. Fabian Barthez, poor. Massimo Taibi should never have been signed.
Fabian Barthez was actually in the 2006 World Cup. Obviously, when France were being carried by Zinedine Zidane, Barthez. I made a check of this while I was watching, because I watched obviously all of France's games that World Cup. When I probably should have been revising, but France were being carried by Zidane. Zidane was magical that World Cup. Obviously all the way to the final. We all know what happened in that. But he was magical. But Barthez never caught the ball. He literally, even if it was the simplest of crosses or any sort of simple thing,
correct.
He literally never caught the ball. He would always just punch it or flap it. He never caught the ball. So for me, poor, but on almost Roberto level. But he was good at certain points of his career, but for us, he was terrible. I still remember obviously when he was holding his hand up against Paolo Di Canio. And obviously he always had the one thing he was always humorous for me was on penalties.
Shithouse on penalties.
When he was sort of kicking the post with his stance and wasting time. So that was
one moment. But, there's two games for me that stand out just how pathetic it was for Man United. When Arsenal won the league at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And actually no, 3. When Arsenal won the league at Old Trafford, he should have done better for Will Tord.
Yes.
his positioning was terrible for that Henry finish as well. That phenomenal Henry goal, he should have done a lot better.
Yeah.
And the game against Real Madrid, up against Ronaldo, he got beat at his near post from that first Ronaldo goal. He should be doing a lot better. So
Yeah.
like Fabian, but we didn't sign him at all. It was ridiculous that we didn't sign Van der Sar in '99 when he was our top goal scorer, top choice goalkeeper.
Yes,
Josh, can you put the tier list up again, just very, very quickly? Yeah, this is just to the chat. Just look at the list of goalkeepers that we've obviously put there, and would you change any positions that we put them in?
You just know, like in the chat, Alisson's potentially going to get a request in there, but I don't think the ones that are very good. I think that is where they should be. I think the best in the league definitely is the only one is Ederson, but that's interesting.
Yeah,
I think it's good that it's almost like it's gone the way in terms of like, if you imagine it as a graph, it's good that obviously the most common one, or most average, obviously is the highest one, if that makes sense in terms of amount of goalkeepers. And obviously it's almost like, it goes the right way.
While we for the chat to put our answers in, we don't have time to go through all of them, but I have two debate things I definitely want to ask you, and they're non-football related, but it'll be a good way to end the stream. Okay, the first one is, this is a really interesting one: pineapple on pizza.
Fuck no.
No, definitely no.
George?
No for me as well, but it depends. I think with anything in terms of food, I think the hungrier you are, the more you'll eat it, if that makes sense. So if you're really hungry, you'd definitely eat it. But I think preference-wise and choice-wise, I wouldn't eat it.
No pineapple on pizza, no.
Pineapple on pizzas is what fucking psychopaths do. So no, absolutely not.
The next one is tea and coffee overrated?
No. Coffee, potentially. Tea, no.
I don't drink either, so I don't know whether that would really make it overrated for me.
Hot chocolate for that. Hot chocolate for me.
Seamus is saying we need to move Kepa to a lower tier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do this. Can I just get rid of Cap in general? Nope.
You can just put him on the very bottom bit where he isn't, like beside that other goalkeeper. No one even notices is there. The goalkeeper sitting on his own. Yeah, just leave him there.
I'll do that. Yeah, good Cap.
Aye. So what we're going to do, because obviously there's been no other key decisions to move anybody. I think there was one, Alisson being moved to the best in the league. But listen to me, Josh. We will save this. We will also put it on Twitter, and we will let you guys decide if we've got these right or not.
I'm looking forward to that.
I've already screenshotted it for you, so I'll send it to you on Discord.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'll tweet it out then. One
more final one. All right, this is a good one. Okay, I seen a stat there the other day that Pep Guardiola has spent $8,722,000 over 5 seasons at Man City on players. So my one final question is a short one: could Pep Guardiola do it at a club with no money?
No.
I'm sorry, but the fact that Manchester City fans think that Sir Alex Ferguson is overrated is ridiculous to the extreme. This is from a Liverpool fan saying this. Sir Alex Ferguson is the greatest of all time in the Premier League, hands down.
Hands down. Wenger second.
Yep.
That's all I've got to say then. So that's all I've got to say.
They say Sir Alex Ferguson never played the type of football that Guardiola did. Go back to the 93-94 double winning season. Man United definitely played that football long before fucking Guardiola did as a manager.
Kian's hit the nail on the head there.
Guardiola's been extremely lucky in terms of almost sort of an unlimited, as you sort of sort of made the cumulative total there, Josh. He's been extremely lucky that he's got that sort of unlimited budget. There's no doubt that he's obviously the brand of football that he's played has revolutionised football in terms of such an incredible sort of possession-based football, and he's definitely changed the English game. But there has to always be that caveat with him that in terms of those sort of finances that he's had is just unbelievable. Really being able to almost sort of change his mind about goalkeepers constantly, defenders constantly, just getting rid of them. that's not the luxury that any other any other manager has in the Premier League, apart from you could say sort of Chelsea, but definitely with City, I think almost every single summer they're able to spend inordinate amounts of money and get rid of players and sign them regularly. And so he's incredibly lucky. And I think what I would say as well is there was that interview with Pep Guardiola where he said, he was asked, wasn't he, what's the main secret to why you've been so successful? And he said, because we've got loads of money to be able to buy players, wasn't it? I think I said that in an interview. So I think Guardiola is intelligent enough to realise that there is that sort of asterisk by Manchester City's achievements, because they're playing almost on a different level to anyone else financially, aren't they? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think he would get more. I think he would potentially get more credit if he could turn around a sleeping giant. So if he was to take over like AC Milan and bring them back to like European and league dominance, I think he would get a lot more respect. Neepin, I understand your comment. Like AC Milan are my Italian team, and I've got big respect for Carlo Ancelotti. But in the Premier League, Carlo Ancelotti is definitely not better than Arsene Wenger. Yes, Wenger didn't do it in Europe. That's a fair comment. But in terms of what Wenger did in the Premier League, that eclipses Ancelotti at Chelsea. Elsewhere, elsewhere, Ancelotti is better than Wenger, but in the Premier League, Wenger is better than Ancelotti.
I would agree. Yeah. So, what a lovely stream it's been. Thank you to everyone who's obviously contributed in the chat. We've done very well with that tier list. If everyone has enjoyed the tier list, and obviously drop a like on the video, we will be hopefully doing one on defenders, which would be quite interesting. Again, it'd be still the same thing, 2021 defenders. So that'll be very, very interesting.
I'd like to put for a notion that we don't do a podcast on April 12th.
There won't be one on April 12th, don't worry.
I would like to put through a notion that we do not do a live show on that date.
I'm going to be straight down the hairdressers, so yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
No, I don't want a live stream on April 12th because it's my freaking birthday.
Oh right, yeah.
Sorry, Keane's just asked. Keane has just asked what's on next week. Well, I have got some announcements about the guests. So we will be joined by Anthony Howard, also known as LCFC Boya. So that's something to look forward to. I'm also will be joined by Russell Bland from Eat, Sleep, United, Repeat. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. And we'll have Nathan back as well.
I'm just kidding. We can do a show on my birthday. It'd be good to get some attention. I always get it. I've just
remembered he wasn't here tonight. Mick Moran from the Kopite Podcast will be on with us as well.
And the week
we got a big show.
And the week after, we have the Almighty Blues, a big Everton fan, a big Everton account for the week after.
Oh, Cameron, good guy, Cameron, good guy.
So,
and I'm going to try and get us a few guests as well.
So as I said, to the people who are still here, I do literally what Neil has said there as well. We have some very, very exciting podcasts and very big things, and also hopefully I'm right in saying this. The other special episode of the podcast will be at the other end of the month. We don't have a clue of a date yet because me and the work and things happen in life. But we will. There will be another one, and whatever it is, we'll be working closer to the time. So I think there's nothing else to be said.
Thank you very, very much for watching. Thanks to Dan from Football Days, and that is what I want. Thank you to George as well. Hope we can have you back very, very soon as well. Hope you've enjoyed it.
And rest in peace to Dan. He's probably collapsed on the floor.
Yeah, very much so, Doug. And thank you very much for having me as usual. Very enjoyable. I think it's good, nice to have a sort of good debate about all the goalkeepers in the league, and hopefully all the fans have enjoyed it as well.
Thank you very much, Reece, as always, for your input and very good debates as well. Find Reece on United at United Venom 7. find George at GeorgeKyle9 on Twitter, and find Thomas Tuchel at JVSA.
On Monday morning, on Monday night. Sorry.
And you can also find me going live on Twitch in the next 15 minutes as well. So you can actually find me there as well. Reece _Lightning 1997 if you're up for a little bit of Twitch.
Yeah, Kian, that joke just never took off. But thank you everyone who has watched, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And we will do more of these tier lists. I think this has been a very, very fun episode. So we spoil you guys for special episodes. So we will be back on Monday. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.